From Michigan International Speedway in Brooklyn, Michigan, this is the Motor Racing Network with the broadcast of the Champion Sparkplug 400 NASCAR Winston Cup Grand National Stock Car Race. Host for today's broadcast is Ken Squire.
And a good day, ladies and gentlemen, from Michigan International Speedway. Motor Racing Network is bringing you the Champion Sparkplug 400-mile Grand National Winston Cup Stock Car Race today. A field of 36 of America's premier contenders in these 3,700-pound 1973 through 1975 model cars are now standing on pit road with heads bowed as a eulogy has just been given by brother Bill Frazier to the late 1963 Daytona 500-mile champion Tiny Lund. The command shortly will be given for the drivers to cinch up the seatbelts and prepare for meet number 20 here at this great 2-mile racing facility. And what a battle is to be seen today as A.J. Foyt and Richard Petty are ready to duel wheel to wheel, side by side here at Michigan. Pearson against Baker, front row, Mercury and Ford, row 2. Perhaps the greatest names ever in the history of American motorsport. Petty and Foyt, side by side, and in row 3, the Matador and Cuckoo Marlin. So in the front 3 rows, 5 different manufacturer makes, with Mercury on the pole by Pearson. Baker outside pole, the winner of last week's Talladega 500. Row 2, Super Tex from Houston, Texas, the Gilmore Broadcasting car of A.J. Foyt, and beside him, the all-time giant of American stock car racing, Richard Petty, and then, behind that Dodge and the Chevrolet of Foyt, the American Motors Matador, Bobby Allison. Let's take a look at the starting grid for one of the most competitive races that's run anywhere in the world. This 400-mile race, now known as the Champion Sparkplug 400, on a 2-mile D-shaped track here in Brooklyn, Michigan in the Irish Hills. In the 36th position from Brownsville, New York, the Handy Racing Chevrolet of Dick Brown. Starting 35th, or rather of Dick May, starting 36th. In 35th, from Christiansburg, Virginia, it'll be Jabe Thomas. He is driving a Chevrolet as well today. Starting in the 34th position, outside of the 17th row, from Indianapolis, Indiana, the Opel Truck Stop Chevrolet of Bruce Jacoby. In the 33rd position is Farrell Harris, the rookie from Pikeville, Kentucky, in a Dodge. Starting 32nd, the Cava Coffee car of Earl Canavan of Fort Johnson, New York, a Dodge at 150 miles per hour for the race, and the rear cars in the field were all in the 150-146 bracket. Going 31st from Charlotte, North Carolina, in the Langley Racing Ford Elmo Langley, number 64. Starting 30th will be Harold Miller of Emerson, Georgia, in the Miller Racing Chevrolet. Going 29th from Martinsville, Virginia, number 67, Buddy Arrington in a Plymouth. Starting 28th, car number 40 from Charlotte, North Carolina, D.K. Ulrich, and he is driving a Chevy. In the 27th position from Chattanooga, Tennessee, it's Grant Adcox in a Chevrolet. 26 is Carl Adams, the former sprint car giant of California. He is from San Diego in the Travelodge Ford. Going 25th is Terry Bivens of Shawnee, Kansas, in the Moyer Chevrolet. The 24th position from Houston, Texas, Walter Ballard Chevrolet. 23rd from Daytona Beach, Florida, Richie Panch, the Gray Rock Brakes Chevrolet. 22nd is J.D. McDuffie of Sanford, North Carolina, the Glen Landscaping Chevrolet. 21st will be Dave Marcus, and note this, he's one of the fast qualifiers, but did not make the field in the first period of qualifying, so Marcus in the K&K Dodge will start 21st on the grid today. Going 20th will be Ed McGree of Kelso, Washington, the 10,000 speed equipment Dodge. The 19th position is the Dodge of Frank Warren. The 18th position from Nashville, Tennessee, the reliable plumbing Chevrolet for David Sisko. Starting 17th from Rome, Georgia, the Belden asphalt car of Henley Gray. 16th on the field is the second Belden asphalt car from Asheville, North Carolina, number 7, Dean Dalton's Ford. The 15th position from Winston-Salem, North Carolina, number 96, Richard Childress. Going 14th from Topeka, Kansas, an outstanding rookie driver, Bruce Hill in the Dixie 500 Chevrolet. In the 13th position is James Hilton of Inman, South Carolina, the Nitro 9 Chevrolet. 12th is Cecil Gordon, Horseshoe, North Carolina, Stott Motors Chevy. The 11th position is number 88, Darrell Waltrip, Franklin, Tennessee, Terminal Transport Chevy. Going 10th is number 72 from Ellerbe, North Carolina, and Detroit, Benny Parsons, the Kings Row Fireplace Chevrolet. The 9th position is young Jackie Rogers of Wilmington, North Carolina, the Lou Biglione Racing Chevrolet, number 60. Then going 8th is number 11, Cale Yarborough, Timmonsville, South Carolina, in the Holly Farm Chevrolet. Starting 7th on the field is car number 90, Dick Brooks. After that amazing 1,000-foot end-over-end crash last week, Brooks is back with another one of the Truxmore Industries automobiles. Starting 6th on the field in car number 14 from Columbia, Tennessee, Cuckoo Marlin, the Cunningham Kelly Chevrolet. The 5th position is the American Motors Matador at 157.909 for one trip around this track, Bobby Allison. There's the command to fire the engine. Starting 4th, car number 43 from Randleman, North Carolina, the STP Dodge of Richard Petty. Flanking him on the inside of row 2. Qualifying, the fastest Chevrolet here at 159.091, the Foyt Gilmore car from Houston, Texas, A.J. Foyt. The front row, last week's winner of the Talladega 500, the Budmore Engineering car. The driver from Charlotte, North Carolina, Buddy Baker. And on the pole, the man who is almost unbeatable on this speedway, in the Purolator Mercury from Spartanburg, South Carolina, 3-time Grand National Champion. Won the first race here in 1969 when it was then 600 miles, and has won 2 other times. 3 out of the past 6 events have belonged to the Silver Fox, David Pearson, who's on the pole at 159.798. Field is rolling. We're getting ready for a start. Michigan International Speedway for $100,000. 36 of America's premier race drivers ready to do battle on this 2-mile track. Our expert commentator today, not only one of the greatest names in championship car racing, but a former pole sitter at Daytona. From Fort Worth, Texas, Johnny Rutherford, what do you think of the field and of the race?
Well, I think it's stacking up to be one of the great races that NASCAR always puts on, Ken. It's one of those things that when you assemble a field like this on this particular type of racetrack, you're in for a lot of real good racing.
When the lead changes for the first time today, it will mark the 400th official lead change of the 1975 season in Winston Cup Grand National Racing. The big battle today, that unbelievable confrontation in row 2, as the 2 greatest champions in the history of American motorsport, A.J. Foyt in the Gilmore Broadcasting, car number 28, and the STP Dodge of Richard Petty, try to nail down a race which belongs to the front row. David Pearson, 3 out of 6 belonging to Pearson and the famous Purolator Mercury, now coming by to take 1 of 2 laps before they settle down and go to town this afternoon. Perhaps the big story here will be car number 21. The number 21 automobile on the pole just barely by a tad. Remember last week he erupted an engine. This week they say they're going to go the distance, and they're very confident in the Glenwood crew earlier this morning. Let's go down to turn number 1, where they sing. The fastest part of the racetrack is where you enter turn 1 off the D shape, the crescent shape of this 2-mile track. And covering the action there is Dave Despain.
Turn 1 is banked 18 degrees. It could be a real snake pit when these great drivers start stuffing it in there at the end of the front chute. The entrance is 3 lanes wide, wider than average racing lanes, and these drivers use it all, as they often get 3 abreast as they lift that throttle and set it up for turn 1. Then there's a jet black groove of burnt rubber into the tarmac that extends almost the full width of the track around and into turn 2, where the cars and stars of NASCAR come off a diggin' and head down that long backstretch.
That's where you can anticipate number 71. One's new to racing, one will want to follow, then we will follow carefully. Number 71, Dave Marcus, who did not qualify in the first qualifying period, so he starts in back of the 10th row, and he'll really come zooming up through, hoping to overtake those front 5 or 6 cars in the first lap. In turns 3 and 4, the turn announcer in America, Barney Hall.
Ken, the cars are just coming into turn number 3. They're bunching very tightly, and as you said, they really whistle down this backstretch. You see a lot of maneuvering to get to move up a position, particularly going into that corner. It's just how brave you are as to how many cars you can knock off going down that backstretch. Here's your field bunching very tightly out of turn number 4, getting ready for a start. Let's go back to the tower.
The champion Sparkplug 400 moves down out of turn number 4. America's premier racing drivers are just about 400 feet away from the start, and they are under green. On the break, going into turn number 1, they stack them 3 deep. Petty tries the outside, cannot get through. They're 4 deep, going into turn 1.
And the lead belongs to Buddy Baker. Buddy Baker coming off the outside of row 1, jumps into the lead, moving to the inside and taking over the second spot, running doorpost to doorpost is A.J. Foyt. Settling back into third spot as they come off turn 2 is the Silver Fox David Pearson. Then it's Petty and Bobby Allison as they go hurtling down the backstretch for the first time. Here comes Pearson.
Down on the inside goes David Pearson. They're 3 deep as they move into turn number 3. It is Pearson down on the inside. Foyt in the middle, and on the outside is Buddy Baker. Now, A.J. Foyt shoots the Gilmore Chevrolet back up front, but only momentarily. Here comes Pearson back down to the inside. It is the Pure Lady Mercury out front. Foyt's back in second. Baker is third. And there's a 5-car draft heading for the start-finish line with Pearson out front.
Car number 71 has moved into 13th position. Moving up from 21st to 13th comes David Marcus in the 71 as he stays with the draft. One lap down.
As they go down into turn 1, David Pearson winning lap 1. Right on his rear deck is A.J. Foyt. Down to the inside of Foyt, running in the second spot now as he wedges a fender out front is Buddy Baker. So it's Pearson, Baker, A.J. Foyt, Richard Petty riding in the third spot, and Bobby Allison is in 4th place with Cale Yarborough moving up to tack onto the back of the draft.
Foyt likes to dice with these NASCAR drivers. He's getting his hands full right now. He just moved around Baker again, back into the number 2 spot. It is Pearson out front, Foyt back in second, Baker third, Petty 4th, Allison is 5th. In 6th position is Cale Yarborough. 7th right now is Dick Brooks. The field out of turn number 4, it is still Pearson.
Behind that 7th place, in 8th is car number 88, Darrell Waltrip. Then in 9th is Benny Parsons. 10th is Cuckoo Marlin. 11th is Cecil Gordon. Going to 12th is car number 71, Dave Marcus from that 21st position at turn 1.
They go snaking down into turn 1, single file, and just as they hit the entrance to the turn, Foyt ducks to the inside, takes the lead away from David Pearson. 6 cars running nose to tail. A.J. Foyt the leader. David Pearson running in the second spot. Then it's Baker, Petty, Allison, and in 6th spot is Cale Yarborough.
Pearson and Foyt keep that dice going as they move to turn number 3. Foyt moves out front. 1 car length. Pearson made a move on the inside. He's back 2 car lengths behind now. Still in third spot is Baker. Back and forth is Richard Petty as they jockey back and forth those front 4. Out of turn number 4, door to door come Pearson and Foyt.
Richard Petty has moved all the way to the outside in a confrontation with Buddy Baker for second place, and it's exactly dead heat at the end of lap number 3 between the 2 leaders, who are David Pearson on the inside and A.J. Foyt on the outside. Now Foyt sweeps to the lead at turn 1.
That was all guts as they dive down into turn 1. Foyt left the hammer down just a little bit longer, and he's opened up a 4-car separation over David Pearson, the second place runner. Petty moves up into third spot right on Pearson's rear deck, and then we've got a 3-car tangle for the 4th, 5th, and 6th positions.
6 cars jockey up front for that number 1 slot as they hit turn number 3 again. It is Foyt, and this time he has opened up a healthy separation on David Pearson. He is 6-7 car lengths ahead of Pearson in the number 4 corner. It is still Foyt out front, Pearson in back. Then rides Richard Petty in 3rd position. Allison is 4th, Cale Yarborough's 5th. Out of the corner, and Foyt has opened up some separation.
Buddy Baker is running in the 6th position. In 7th is Richard Brooks. Going 8th is Darrell Waltrip. To 9th, Cuckoo Marlin. 10th is Benny Parsons. And up to 11th comes car number 71, Dave Marcus. Marcus is challenging for 10th position in the first turn.
As they go into turn 1, Dave Marcus has moved solidly into the 10th spot, and he is just at the tail end of the lead draft. He can hook up with the leaders very easily as they go down the back chute, where A.J. Foyt continues to lead a 6-car freight train.
Dave Marcus is really knocking off automobiles. He has clicked off 11 in 4 laps. He continues to move on the leaders. Meanwhile, in turn number 3, it is still Foyt out front, Pearson 2nd, Petty 3rd. Allison is 4th. Cale Yarborough is in 5th position. Baker rides in 6th spot. They string it out. The race stabilizes, but only for a moment. Here comes Pearson down on the inside.
David Pearson shoves the Mercury to the bottom of the racetrack, and it's wheel-to-wheel with the A.J. Foyt Chevrolet. They're at dead heat across the line once again as they complete lap number 5 and go into that first turn with Marcus ready to go for 9th position.
They get out of the throttle just momentarily, and once again, Foyt uses that opportunity to shove it in a little deeper and open up the separation, but this time he takes Richard Petty with him. Petty, following the Foyt draft, moves up into 2nd spot. That drops David Pearson back to 3rd. Now here comes Bobby Allison challenging in 4th position. Cale Yarborough is on his deck, and Buddy Baker is 6th.
New faces beginning to emerge up in the front now. It is Richard Petty's STP Dodge right on the tail of A.J. Foyt, who's in the lead. Back in 3rd spot is Pearson. 4th is Allison. 5th is still Cale Yarborough. But Foyt showing an extreme amount of strength in the early laps. Comes out of turn number 4. Richard Petty really puts the pressure on him.
Here comes Marcus. Once again, he's moving for the 8th position, challenging Cuckoo Marlin for 8. Meanwhile, up in front, Petty looks like he's ready to take a nod at the lead.
Petty goes all the way to the wall trying to set up Foyt. We've got $4 million worth of race drivers in the front 2 positions. The only $2 million winners in history are running 1-2. A.J. Foyt leading, and right behind him is Richard Petty. David Pearson continues to run in the 3rd spot. Buddy Baker and Bobby Allison side by side in the race for 5th place as they go down the back chute.
As of yet, Richard Petty has not made a move on Foyt other than just tuck in under his bumper in the corners. They move into turn number 3. Now Petty comes down to the inside. He moves up alongside, just gets a fender inside Foyt. Foyt gets a little high in the corner, and Petty takes advantage. And now Richard Petty has the front fender up alongside. He drops back out of the corner.
A blown engine in turn number 3. One car sideways up toward the wall. It looks like Jackie Rogers in car number 60 at turn 3.
It's Jackie Rogers, Ken. He popped an engine just coming into the corner. A couple of cars just narrowly missed him. He skidded up into the wall, just barely brushed it lightly. He's still sitting up there, but nobody got into him. Back to the tower.
The first caution period of the race comes in lap number 7. They're working lap number 8 as Jackie Rogers in the bigly owned Chevrolet, a yellow-blue numeral automobile, slides several hundred feet down to the bottom of the racetrack, that danced right in front of traffic to the outside steel wall at turn 3. And now the car is coming back onto the bottom of the track into the apron area. So Jackie Rogers, a brilliant young driver from Wilmington, North Carolina, brings out the first caution flag of the afternoon, leaving A.J. Foyt in the lead with Richard Petty in 2nd. The 3rd position belonging to car number 21, David Pearson. 4th, Buddy Baker. So the start is just what was anticipated, a 6-car battle, Johnny Rutherford.
Yes, things are really, hopping. I was watching Jackie Rogers there. He did a superior job. I've run on this track enough to know that he was fighting that machine, trying to keep it under control. It was hard to tell. I was just looking through the binoculars to see if possibly he had left a trail of oil up to the wall, but it doesn't appear that he had. But the thing was definitely way around, boiling smoke off of the tires, and he had his hands full for quite a while there.
First caution period of the race as Jackie Rogers detonates an engine in turn 2. Jackie Rogers' car coming very slowly down pit road, and there's a report on the leader. Let's go to the pits and Kenny Campbell.
Just prior to the start of this race, I talked with Hoss Ellington, the crew chief on the Gilmore Foyt racing machine, and he tells me that they have changed the rear in this car and are running with a 6-point lower rear than they qualified in an attempt to make the car last and to go the full 400 miles here today. Now back to the tower.
Car number 60 has come down pit road, the car which brought out the first caution of the day. He is resting about 400 or 500 feet down from the entrance to pit road and will have to be pushed in. Among the cars which have taken an opportunity to pit are Walter Ballard, J.D. McDuffie, San Diego's Carl Adams, Grant Adcox is on pit road, as well as the car number 33, which is being driven by Dick May of Brownsville, New York. We are in the 3rd or 2nd lap of a caution period. Cars maintaining their positions at about 60 miles per hour behind the safety car, which is a pacer here today at the track, and is being driven by Newport Beach, California's Jerry Grant. He's driving the pace car here this afternoon. The yellow lights flashing on top of the vehicle indicating there will be at least one more lap under caution. When those caution lights go out on top of the pace car, they would then know that they were coming up on a start as they enter turns 3 and 4. It's interesting to note that 10 of the original starters back here in the first race that was run in 1969, and the distance was then 600 miles, are here in today's race. 10 of those original starters are back for the competition today, and they include not only some of the top names in racing, like David Pearson. Benny Parsons has made all the races, but some of the names that you don't hear in headline form too much, like Henley Gray and Elmo Langley, have been here for every one of the events that have been run previously on this track. Dave Marcus has never missed a race on this racetrack in this particular event, known previously as the Yankee race, the Yankee 600 and the Yankee 400. Originally, 44 cars started the event, then cut to 40, and a year ago the field at 36. Wild competition on this track, and why is it, Johnny Rutherford, that here, more than so many other racing facilities, we see this wheel-to-wheel competition, and already we've had over 400 lead changes on the season, but we seem to have just bushels of them when we come to Brooklyn, Michigan.
Well, Ken, this racetrack lends itself to running 3 abreast and gives you a chance to maneuver out there with these cars. And you can utilize the draft getting into these turns, and the track is wide enough that you can dive low and not lose any advantage you've tried to build up for yourself in trying to gain the lead or anything, and it works for you. So with that going for the racetrack and the way these guys drive it, it just is a very exciting racetrack.
It's one of those tracks that is so subtle. You come down through this crescent in the main straightaway and then into that first turn. And it's awfully easy to overdrive this track, I understand, Johnny Rutherford.
Yes, it is, because you have a tendency, you get lulled into believing or the feeling that you can run a lot faster. You look at that bank going down through this D-shaped front straightaway, and you kind of roll off in there, and suddenly it tightens up because you come out on a straightaway in the back that's flat and very straight, and the flat part of the straight part of the back of the D, and as a result, you can get down in there too hard. The car wants to push then, and when it does, you've got to back out of the throttle. When you back out of the throttle, you lose time, and it just multiplies around the racetrack. So you do have to use finesse to get around this racetrack properly.
The average speed through the first 10 laps, 20 miles, 117.840 miles per hour, with then car number 28, Foyt, leading, Petty second, David Pearson third, Bobby Allison fourth, Cale Yarborough fifth. Going sixth was Baker, seventh was car number 90, and that's the Richard Brooks machine. Eighth was car number 14, Marlin, and up from 21st to 9th position, car number 71, Dave Marcus of Wausau, Wisconsin, in the K&K Dodge. Running 10th, number 88, Darrell Waltrip, 11th, Cecil Gordon, 12th is Bruce Hill, 13th, number 05, David Sisko, 14th is the car number 98, Richie Panch, 15th, number 96, which is Richard Childress, running 16th is Ed Negree, number 8, 17th, number 48, James Hilton, 18th is car number 63, Terry Bevins, running 19th, number 64, Alma Langley, and 20th is car number 37, Bruce Jacoby of Indianapolis, Indiana. That's how the front 20 automobiles stand through 10 laps, 20 miles on this 2-mile track today. The big battle for racing fans all over the country is a showdown again between A.J. Foyt and Richard Petty, and the two have given all promise of a great race all day. And remember, too, that Buddy Baker's number 15 has won 2 of its last 3 starts. That's just an amazing record that all of a sudden is going the way of this fine crew from up in South Carolina. Buddy Baker from Charlotte, North Carolina. 1 lap and they will be racing the Budmore car, winning twice at Talladega and getting that 2 of its last 3 performances, a second place at Daytona. They've been only going on super speedways, but Baker now tells us that the plan for the remainder of the season is far different than earlier.
Right now we're planning to run the rest of the races. This includes Bristol, Martinsville, all the short tracks, and of course the remainder of the big races. It's a tough schedule to run, but that's what Bud wants to do. We have so many men working for us back in Spartanburg and all. We have about 11, 12 employees there at Budmore Engineering, and quite frankly, we need to run to keep everybody busy.
That's Buddy Baker, and that means he will be at the Southern 500 September 1st in Darlington, then September 7th, the Capital City 500 at Richmond, Virginia, September 14th, the Delaware 500, Dover, Delaware, the 21st of September, North Wilkesboro, North Carolina for the Wilkes 400, and September the 28th, the Old Dominion 500, Martinsville, Virginia. Then on October 5th at the National 500 in Charlotte, North Carolina. We're ready on a restart with 12 laps complete. They're working the 13th at the present time. Number 28, the Gilmore Broadcasting car of A.J. Foyt in front, Richard Petty in second, 2 6-time national champions ready to go at it. Chevrolet and Dodge for the lead. The green is unfurled by John Bruner Jr. And at Michigan International Speedway, they stand on it, and Richard Petty pulls right up on the rear bumper of A.J. Foyt into turn 1.
Petty literally pushes A.J. Foyt into turn 1, tucks right up under that rear deck. Foyt holds the lead. Petty rides to the second spot. The big charge on lap 1 of the restart being made by Bobby Allison, who jumps into third position. Riding in the 4th spot is David Pearson. 5th is Cale Yarborough. 6th is Buddy Baker, and it's a sextet of wily veterans up front as they go down the back chute.
Foyt leads him down the back chute, goes for turn number 3, and Richard Petty is now 5 car lengths back. Dave Marcus was trying to knock off Dick Brooks as they came down the backstretch, move up on the leaders. He goes to the inside as they hit turn 3, and there's a real battle going on back there as Marcus works his way up on the leaders. Meanwhile, here comes Richard Petty down to the bottom of the speedway, looking for a way around A.J. Foyt. I don't think he's going to do it this time.
So they stay 1-2 with 3rd spot Allison, 4th Pearson, 5th, Kaylee Armborough. 6, Buddy Baker. 7, car number 90, Richard Brooks. And up to 8 moves number 71, Marcus. And there's Marcus now challenging again. Marcus against Richard Brooks at turn 1.
As they move down into turn 1, and Marcus cannot get the job done. Brooks comes down off the high side of the racetrack and closes the door on Dave Marcus. But Brooks and Marcus are definitely moving up to tack onto the end of the tail draft, which is now being led by A.J. Foyt.
6-car single file draft as they move to turn 3, and this time back in the pack here comes Marcus again, putting the charge on Dick Brooks, trying to get around and get up in those front runners. It is still Foyt out front, Petty second, Bobby Allison in third. Back and forth is David Pearson in 5th, Cale Yarborough, and 6th is Buddy Baker. Out of the corner, still single file, Ken Squire.
Then in 6, half a second back, or rather 7th, half a second back, is car number 90. That's Richard Brooks. In 8th, number 71, David Pearson. Then in 9th is Cuckoo Marlin. Again, number 71 goes to the bottom of the racetrack, and Marcus goes underneath Richard Brooks in turn 1.
Almost a carbon copy of the last lap, but this time it looks like Marcus may get the job done. He's got the inside line on Brooks. Here comes Brooks storming back around the outside. They hit the exit of turn 2, and they are side by side. It's a drag race down the back chute. Marcus and Brooks are nose and nose.
That's the battle all the fans are watching here now. Here goes Marcus on down underneath Brooks, and this time he's got him as Dave Marcus has moved into 7th position, works his way up on the front runner. Still Foyt leading Petty out of turn number 4. Allison is back in 3rd spot. Still in 4th is Pearson.
The Harry Hyde Chief automobile, number 71, is up there to 7th position and leading a 3-car draft with Brooks directly behind him and tagging along Cuckoo Marlin in the 9th position. 10th is Waltrip. 11th is Cecil Gordon as they work in the 17th lap here today of a 200-lap, 400-mile, $100,000 race for Grand National stock cars. In front, Chevrolet with A.J. Foyt. Second, Dodge, Richard Petty, and the American Motors Matador rests in third on the backstretch, whipping down into turn 3 at 175 miles per hour to Barney Hall.
Richard Petty, Ken, is surprisingly staying up there. Usually Petty likes to ride back in 3rd or 4th spot, somewhere back in the pack, and just kind of watch things develop in the early stages, but he's keeping Foyt right in his sights. He's been no less than 2 car lengths back, and that's the way they hit the start-finish line.
As the field moves back into turn number 1, car number 15, here's Baker crawling back up there once again. He looks like he's going to try to go through those front 5 automobiles.
That lead sextet has been content to run single file for a couple of laps.
Oh, an engine going down in turn 1.
We've got a car sideways up against the steel retaining wall. Here he comes right back through traffic. Cars go every which way. So far, everybody is by.
Cuckoo Marlin's machine.
Cuckoo Marlin is resting on the apron, and everybody else got by Ken Squire.
Cuckoo Marlin's number 14 across the speedway and bouncing into the outside retaining wall. Let's go back to turn 1.
Marlin's car let go just at the midpoint between turn 1 and turn 2. The car came sideways, smoke boiling off the tires. A lot of traffic directly behind Cuckoo in that number 14 Cunningham Kelly Chevrolet as the car went skating and slithering up the concrete, headed for the outside wall. He backed into the wall and has sustained severe damage on the back end of the car, then came back down across traffic. And believe me, it was like a break on the billiard table with cars going every which direction. Everybody got by safely. Now back to radio control.
So we're in the second caution period of the day as all of the leaders pull on pit road. Well, here at the Michigan International Speedway, under a strange set of circumstances, a hard crash by Cuckoo Marlin, number 71, Dave Marcus, who started dead in the 21st position. And that's pretty far back, finds himself now running in first place. As all the leaders pitted, Marcus elects to stay on the track. And the fence at turn 1 and 2 has really been rumpled by Cuckoo Marlin as he backed into the fence hard at turns number 1 and 2. The safety crews are down there with the fence at the present time. And let's get a further report from Dave Despain.
It's a little hard to tell from this vantage point which is more rumpled, Ken, that crash wall on the outside or the back end of the Cunningham Kelly Chevrolet. You can see the black snake-like tracks going directly up into that wall at a very severe angle. And boy, when he hit it, he punched a hole in it. There is debris on the racetrack from the race car and the wall, and that's being cleaned up now by the safety crews. The Speedy Dry is down in turn 1 where that Chevrolet engine first let go. Marlin's car is on the apron, and the safety crews are at work to get us back to racing. Now back to you, Ken Squire.
So with 20 laps, 40 miles complete, the leader shows car number 71, Marcus. In the second spot, number 05, David Sisko. Number 8, Ed Negree runs in third, with number 96, Richard Childress in fourth. And the 5th position belongs to car number 63, the Terry Bivens car from Shawnee, Kansas. Those are the front 5 at the present time here at the Michigan International Speedway. The second caution of the day when Cuckoo Marlin unhinged an engine going into that wide turn number 1, and the car backed itself into the fence at about 160 miles per hour. It's got to be a cruel sensation, Johnny Rutherford, when you're backing and all of a sudden you stop quick.
Well, it really is, Ken, because, you know, the car sliding like that, it doesn't slow down a great deal. And when you do come in contact with a wall like that, it's just a jolt that you cannot put into words. You know it's going to hurt, so you just kind of roll up in a little ball and hang on.
Cuckoo Marlin's automobile still resting between turn 1 and 2 here at the Michigan International Speedway, where race number 20, the $100,000 Champion Sparkplug 400, is under caution for the second time today. Previously, this race was won by David Pearson its first year back in 1969. Then in the second year, Charlie Glotzbach was victorious in this event. In 1971, it was Bobby Allison defeating Richard Petty in a sensational finish. Then, as every race here has had a tight finish, the fourth year saw Pearson defeating Allison again in 200 laps at the line. In 1974, the 5th annual Yankee 400 saw Pearson victorious over Richard Petty in still another dramatic finish. And now the Champion Sparkplug name on this 400-mile, $100,000 event looks to see another great challenge between at least a half dozen of America's superstars of motorsport. The backstretch now sees car number 71 being towed along by the pace car at about 65 miles per hour. The driver, Marcus, Wausau, Wisconsin, still looking for his first super speedway victory. On pit road, a report from Kenny Campbell.
Most of the cars came in, Ken, and made routine pit stops, but our position is located directly behind the pit of the car number 21, and they apparently made some adjustment here under the hood, replaced the right front tire, and must have been having a little handling problem. So we'll want to keep an eye on the Pearson car now. Now back to the tower.
Dave Marcus is just pitting car number 71, the K&K Dodge, rolling down pit road, electing to come in here, and inheriting first place is car number 05, David Sisko. Appropriating second is Ed Negree. Shoved up to third is Richard Childress, and in the fourth position moves car number 63, Terry Bivens. This young driver from Shawnee, Kansas, finds himself fourth with fifth place belonging to the car number 1. That would be the Earl Canavan car at the present time. There will be at least another lap or two under caution today. Reviewing the front of the field for you, it is car number 05, Sisko, your leader, Ed Negree, for you folks listening up in Washington State in second, and then number 96, Richard Childress from Winston-Salem, is maintaining the third position. Fourth spot is number 63, and the driver there is Terry Bivens, the Shawnee, Kansas campaigner, and running fifth is car number 19, Henley Gray of Rome, Georgia. Grant Adcox of Chattanooga is coming back on the speedway. There is no activity on pit road right now. A quick report from Kenny Campbell.
We talked earlier today with some of the Goodyear engineers, and they say that the racing surface today is probably as ideal as it could be, both from a mechanical standpoint and from a rubber standpoint. So I think we can look for strong competition through the entire day here at this Champion 400. Now back to the tower.
The report is that Darrell Waltrip's radio on the Nygaard Chevrolet, the native tan car, has just begun to rebel. It's not working properly, and that could spell problems for Waltrip, who has come in here today with his own car, not the Nygaard team cars, but his number 17 painted with the Nygaard colors on it, and this is his short track car, the same car in which he won his first Grand National race at Nashville, Tennessee. Field coming around to complete 24 laps. Yesterday we had a terrible downpour. We had water standing about 3 inches deep out here on pit road late yesterday afternoon, but the gods of water are working with us today, and they're abating in any plans they might have had to shower us, and right now we're having a dandy race. Thanks for coming by, Dick Cudner. Here comes Cuckoo Marlin's car, the number 14 car coming in, and Barney Hall, take a look at it.
You know, the only way Johnny Rutherford was describing the impact and how you feel and what goes through your mind to do it, but the average person that drives down the highway, just get an idea of what the impact is. If you're driving along the highway right now listening to the broadcast, I was doing this the other day, just pick out a telephone pole or a tree or a cement bridge abutment and imagine what it would feel like to just drive into it at 35 or 45 miles an hour, whatever you're driving, and then multiply that about 4 times with the speed these guys are going to crunch the fence, and it's just totally unreal how they walk away from these things. And Cuckoo climbed right out of the car after the tangle with that guardrail down there, which just totally demolished the rear end of his machine. Let's go back to the tower.
Cuckoo Marlin's car really shrunk. The back end gone on car number 14, right to the rear window on this beautiful gold and red Chevrolet automobile that Marlin campaigns for the Cunningham Kelly people. The car badly battered. I'll tell you how bad he battered it. He broke the rail at turn numbers 1 and 2. They're reporting, Dave Despain, that he actually ruptured the outside steel rail around the speedway.
Well, indeed he did, Ken. The rail is about 3 tiers high, and the rear end of that Chevrolet poked out the bottom 2 rails. The top one remained intact, but the bottom 2 rails were definitely broken by that impact. And in addition, the impact also left an awful lot of shrapnel on the racetrack. The cleanup crews are still down there picking up pieces and parts off that demolished, battered automobile. It was a horrendous impact, and I think one thing that contributed to that was something you were talking about earlier, the fact that you can run solo on the racetrack. The car was at the bottom of the racetrack when it broke loose, and that made the angle of attack on the wall a lot more severe and certainly contributed to the damage that Cuckoo's automobile sustained. The cleanup work is continuing in turn 1. Back to you, Ken Squire.
Hugh LaFay Marlin is down there with Cuckoo, we understand, and at the present time we're completing another of several laps which will be run under caution today. We'll be checking on standings around the country. You know, Dick Cudner, one of the exciting things is to watch these young superstars who are coming up that we keep getting reports on, and let's take a look for just a moment at who they are. Birmingham International Raceway on Friday night, Jody Ridley was victorious, and Jerry Lawley won the second feature over at DIR, and they beat the old master Bobby Allison in both Feature 1 and Feature 2. At Langley Speedway in Hampton, Virginia this weekend, Red Foot went home victorious with Tommy Ellis finishing in second. The Beltsville Speedway in Maryland saw Dick Boswell defeat Reds Cagle. At Old Dominion in Manassas, Virginia, Joe Thurman was back in victory circle from Rocky Mount, Virginia, with Jimmy Myers second. The Southside Speedway in Richmond, Virginia, saw the 3-time winner of the Permatex 300 at Daytona, Bill Dennis, defeat Joe Falk and Al Grinnan. And at Stafford Springs, Connecticut, in the modified competition, the Big Trenton qualifier there, the 3-time U.S. National Modified Champion, Carl Bergman, that is, alias Bugsy Stevens, was victorious over Ray Miller and young Jeff Bodine, who sewed up the track championship in Connecticut last night. Lonesome Pine Speedway at Coburn, Virginia, had Jack Ingram defeat Butch Lindley this weekend. At the Asheville Speedway in their 150-lapper, Ironman Jack Ingram, who has dominated national sportsman competition for the last 2 years, was victorious. The Minnesota State Fair, 75-lapper up there in Minneapolis, and Harry Gant was victorious, representing that Southern confrontation, the invasion force against all those great runners from Minnesota, Michigan, Wisconsin, who were at the Minnesota State Fair. And the Hickory Speedway, Ned Jarrett's fine track, was rained out. They're going to be running tonight at Hickory in North Carolina. So those are some of the results from around the country, and we'll have more for you from the West Coast as well as up New England way before we're off the air this afternoon. This is Ken Squire and the Motor Racing Network. We're with you at Brooklyn, Michigan this afternoon. Well, right now we're under a caution. We understand it will be a lengthy one because of Cuckoo Marlin's crash, which put him right through the barrier fence in turn number 2 at better than 175 miles an hour. He's completely sawed off the back end of the golden red car number 14, which now rests down in the pits badly tattered and torn. A report from Kenny Campbell on pit road.
Ken, this car came in, it's as badly demolished as any car I've ever seen on the rear, but Cuckoo did ride the car back to the pit area, got out, and is talking to everyone here in the pit, so Cuckoo is all right, but it was a terrible crash and a terrible damage to the car. And now back to you in the tower.
This track is a very deceiving track. We talked to Buddy Baker about the facility, and this is what he told us.
It's a super racetrack. It's beautiful, it's good and wide, and a car has to run, it has to handle, and it has to have good endurance here. So it's just about ideal for our type of racing.
That's Buddy Baker, who currently is far back in the standings after this pit stop, which made a wholesale change of the front positions. The second of 2 caution flags today. Cuckoo Marlin's crash at turn number 1. The victim of the first caution flag is standing by with Ken Campbell.
Jackie Rogers here in the pits. Was there any warning as to what was coming, Jackie?
No, the car was, running fine, and it was a little loose, and so I kind of laid back, wait for the first caution so I could get a little bite in it, and went down the back stretch and didn't give no warning at all. And, the motor blowed and all the oil hit the back wheels, and I went for a nice little ride, but I didn't hit anything. So
Jackie Rogers from Wilmington, North Carolina is fine, and back to the tower.
The Michigan International Speedway is under caution, remains so, after Cuckoo Marlin's car creams the fence at turn number 2, and Cuckoo is standing by on pit road right now.
Cuckoo, you were running right at the back of that front pack up there. Was there any warning as to what was coming and what really did happen?
No, the engine had been running good all day, and I was just kind of pacing myself, and as I went into number 1, then actually trying to loose, then of course you ain't got much control over when it gets loose like that.
Johnny Rutherford's upstairs today in the booth, and he was saying something about him anticipating hitting that wall. Does it really? Did you really know where you were going and what was happening when it happens that quickly?
Well, of course it was, and you kind of want to hit it at a glancing lick, but with that oil, you can't control it that much. So I kind of went just about in it backwards.
Well, we're glad to see that there doesn't appear to be any physical damage to you, but there is a great deal of damage to the car. What is the extent, Cuckoo, just from the preliminary look you've had at it?
Well, it looks pretty bad right now.
Well, I know that you wish there were such a thing as collision insurance, and probably the racetrack wish there was such a thing as property damage, but since there's neither, we'll go back to the tower.
Cuckoo Marlin?
Yes.
Yeah.
Have you ever stopped that fast before?
I believe that's about the quickest.
30 feet from 160 miles an hour to 0, and we're seeing some more cars pit as Cuckoo Marlin goes back to the garage area to take off the driver's suit, the flame-proof suit, and just become a visitor to Michigan today. Number 96, Richard Childress, who has been running in the third position, is now pitting his automobile, and San Diego, California's Carl Adams, the sprint car champion from the far west, going for Rookie of the Year honors, is also on pit road. Let's take a look at the standings. At 30 laps, 60 miles, they were running this way. Number 05, David Sisko was in command. Car number 8, Ed Negree of Kelso, Washington, was in second, and at that time, Richard Childress's number 96, now on pit road, was in third. Running fourth on the field was a rookie driver, car number 63, Terry Bivens of Shawnee, Kansas. Going in the fifth position was number 19, the Belden Asphalt car with Henley Gray. In the sixth position was car number Earl 01, which is Earl Canavan of Old Fort, New York, the Cava Coffee car. The seventh position was car number 16, Bobby Allison in the American Motors Coca-Cola Matador. Going eighth was car number 28, A.J. Foyt. In ninth at 30 laps was car number 43, Richard Petty, and in 10th was car number 7, Dean Dalton of Asheville, North Carolina. The 11th position was David Pearson's car number 21. In 12th was car number 11 at 30 laps with Cale Yarborough. In the 13th position was car number 15, Buddy Baker. 14th was car number 88, Darrell Waltrip. In the 15th position was car number 65, Carl Adams. Going 16th, number 24, Cecil Gordon. 17th was number 90, Richard Brooks, victimized by that terrible 1,000-foot crash he took last week, back and ready to go, fit as a fiddle this week. 18th, car number 47, Ray Williams. 19th, a correction on that, number 47, Bruce Hill of Topeka, Kansas, the rookie driver. Then in the 19th position, number 30, Houston, Texas, Walter Ballard. Running 20th was Frank Warren's number 79. In 21st was car number 72, Benny Parsons. Running the 22nd position, number 48, James Hilton. 23rd, number 25, Jabe Thomas, who had started dead last. 24th, number 37, and that was Bruce Jacoby. In the 25th position, car number 98. And the driver there is Richie Pants. 26 is number 64, Almo Langley. 27th, number 82, Farrell Harris. Going in the 28th position, number 67, Buddy Arrington. 29th was car number 91, Harold Miller. 30th was the number 71 car, Dave Marcus, dropping all the way back after he'd been up as close, well, he'd been all the way to the lead. Then in 31st position was car number 40, D.K. Ulrich. 32nd was the number 33 automobile. And that car is the Dick May car, number 33. So that's how they stood, and we have a total, I believe, of 3 retirees from the race at the present time. Here's Richard Childress getting back on the track. Jackie Rogers is out of the race. A bad crash on Cuckoo Marlin has also eliminated his car. And let's have a word from Johnny Rutherford.
You know, it'll be interesting to see, Ken, just if the leaders or the top runners in this race so far will make a dash to the pits. If they can judge by watching the crew up there working on the guardrail, if they get very close to a finishing situation where they will be moving away, if these guys will make a mad dash into the pits to top off the fuel tanks and to make any changes they might want to before the race resumes. So we can watch for that, and that should be very interesting.
Kenny Campbell is checking right now with Glenn Wood as to the status of just that with the Pearson crew, and we know 21 is running way down to the bottom of the track. As we get set to turn this one loose, we would think relatively soon. Let's go to the first and second turn area for an update from Dave Despain.
The area of problem is directly between 1 and 2 on the outside guardrail. That guardrail consists of 4 high tiers of corrugated barrier made of 1/8-inch steel. About the only thing that will penetrate that stuff is a Bangalore torpedo, or in this case, that number 14 torpedo. the car, the Cunningham Kelly Chevrolet of Cuckoo Marlin, that went launching into there at 160 miles an hour. The bottom two sections have been removed and replaced by new sections about 30 feet long, Ken Squire. It has to be unbolted and taken out, new sections brought up and bolted in. The work is continuing. The fence is looking much better right now than it did when Cuckoo went into it, and we should be back to racing in a few minutes. Back to you, Ken Squire.
So while they repair the tatters down in turn 2, we're getting set for a report from Kenny Campbell as to just exactly what's going on with some of these front-running cars.
We talked to Bud Moore of the Buddy Baker car, and he tells me that he doesn't feel that this long caution period will in any way affect the performance. Front runners will make a pit stop before we restart from this caution. And now back to the tower.
The competition here today, as always, just absolutely supreme, with 6 cars thus far battling for the lead, and we'll have 7 cars on the restart as car number 71 begins to get in there. How come, Bill France? What creates this kind of competition that we see nowhere else in the world of motorsport?
Okay, we can start with Detroit, where all the cars are built, and I think the styling that comes out where aerodynamically I think most of the cars are pretty evenly matched in the showroom, and that carries on right out here, and basically they're using the same size engine, and the competition between the teams are real good. And when you've got crew chiefs like Roger Penske and Bud Moore and Glenn Wood, Junior Johnson, and the Petties naturally, well, these are probably as fine a car builders as there are in existence, and throw in top drivers, and this is what you've got out here today.
Well, we've got a dandy race. It's too bad we've had so many laps under caution, but their safety crews are working to make sure the track is okay after Cuckoo really lowered the back end. If anyone has any question about how they can make cars stronger, that certainly proved it there, and you can back a car into 160 miles an hour and talk about it 5 minutes later. That's quite a feat. These cars are really built.
Well, I think that goes back to basically Bill Gazaway's responsibility, and he does a terrific job, and I might add he gets a lot of Ken, you better get back on the pit stop.
Some of the leaders are coming in right now. In fact, everyone's coming in. They sense that this race may be getting underway. They've just seen the repair truck move away from turn 2, Bill France, which indicates to all of them it's time to come in and top the tanks off, these 20-gallon fuel tanks in these late model stock cars. Incidentally, from the West Coast, we were mentioning we'd have some results for you folks listening in California today in the Winston Western Grand National Race this weekend at Clovis, California. On the half-mile dirt, Jimmy Insolo drove Chevrolet to first place with Bill Schmidt finishing in second. Ray Elder had to take third. What happened to you, Ray? And fourth was Sonny Easley of Van Nuys, California. It was Chevrolet 1 and 2, Dodge third, and Sonny Easley fourth in the standings of the Winston Western Grand National Race at Clovis, California. Tonight, those same cars are at Ascot, California, Ascot Park for a 100-lap event. Well, they've been on pit road. They're back out. We're getting ready for a start, and there's been another rash of changes in the way the cars are positioned on the speedway. Everybody pitting at once, almost the entire field pulled down pit road. We'll wait for scoring to give us an indicator as to the number 1 car. We don't believe there's any more than a couple of cars lapped on the field, so whoever comes around here would be showing the lead. But we'll wait and see if there are any more pit stops before we go down through another series of standings in this event. We are now showing 38 of 200 laps complete, and the safety crews here at the Michigan International Speedway, John LaFear's people have done just a magnificent job. Here's Petty getting ready to pit. The STP Dodge is rolling down pit road, and right behind him comes one of the rookie drivers, the Opel Trucking, car number 37, Bruce Jacoby of Indianapolis, Indiana. Edna Grease, car number 8, shows as the leader, with number 63, young Terry Bivens, making one of his rare Grand National appearances, running second. J.D. McDuffie has pitted his car, and in one more lap, we will be racing here at Michigan this afternoon. Back to Dave Despain at turn 1.
As the field moves down into turn 1, all these drivers anticipating a restart. It's been a long break in their concentration, and the key now is for those drivers who are back in the pack, who were in the lead draft early, to do the knife through butter routine and get back to the front. One other very brief mention, Ken, and that is the weather. We've had rain here the last 2 times. The race has been completed both times. There's a very large black cloud lurking back behind turn 3. And it appears at this moment to be moving the other way. We'll hope it continues to do so as the field forms up on the backstretch. Back to radio control.
So on the backstretch, Ed Negree from Kelso, Washington is front. He's leading. Petty took on inside tires just now and is back on the speedway. Richard Petty taking on inside tires on his automobile. Allison beat A.J. Foy out of the pits in a little competition they had going, and we're just about set to put this race back under green, Johnny Rutherford. Here comes the field, storming down out of the corner. Ed Negree is the 29th driver to lead in 1975 in Winston competition. And here they come, bustling, bombarding, barreling down out of turn 4. A classic start, and it's Ed Negree to lead this lap of the correction. It'll be Henley Gray. Ed Negree dropping back. Negree drops back, and it is Henley Gray's number 19 in first place going to turn 1.
As they dive in, Henley Gray moves down low on the racetrack, and up high on the outside and charging comes the Coca-Cola Matador. It's Bobby Allison at the controls, and he's up to 4th place on the racetrack. Right behind him is Dave Marcus. The field comes thundering around, and all those early leaders are trying to work their way through traffic as Henley Gray gets an unusual opportunity to lead them down the chute.
Heavy traffic down the backstretch with Henley Gray leading the field, but working up through slower traffic comes Bobby Allison on the outside. He has moved up into 3rd position. He is right behind Richie Panch. They hit turn number 4. Allison works his way toward the front of the pack, but Henley Gray is still leading as David Pearson, Richard Petty, and the rest of the front runners try to get back up front. Here they come to you, Ken Squire.
Henley Gray in the lead. Here comes Richie Panch on the outside. A.J. Foyt. There's 4 cars side by side in turn 1.
They go in 4 deep. The 2 leaders on the inside, A.J. Foyt and Bobby Allison, and they just stuffed it underneath Henley Gray. My goodness, it had to be a scary moment for him. They just about took the doors off that car. A.J. Foyt takes the lead. Bobby Allison moves up into 2nd spot, now on the outside. Here comes David Pearson. Pearson has moved up to 4th, and dragging along in his draft comes Buddy Baker.
Same situation before we had the caution flag as these front runners try to get it all together back up in turn number 3. It is A.J. Foyt riding out front of the Gilmore Chevrolet. Bobby Allison in the Coke Matadors in 2nd position. Richie Panch follows him, and right behind that comes David Pearson and Buddy Baker. As they work their way out of turn 4, it is still Foyt out front.
Coming by to complete 42 of the 200 laps with Foyt in front by 10 car lengths over Allison in 2nd. Then in 3rd comes David Pearson. Buddy Baker moves to 4th.
Pearson and Buddy Baker have linked up in a nose-to-tail draft. There's a good separation between the Allison Matador and the 3rd place car of David Pearson. Pearson and Baker are going to link up in that draft and try to get back up there on top of the leaders. The margin 1st to 2nd is 4 car lengths as A.J. Foyt leads him down the back chute. The Matador of Allison 2nd. Pearson is 3rd. Baker is 4th.
A.J. Foyt, who says there's only one place to be on the Speedway, and that's leading the pack. That's what he does as he hits turn 3. But Allison, 4 car lengths back, looks in his mirror, sees David Pearson closing on the front 2. And right behind Pearson comes Buddy Baker. A 2-car draft up front. 10 or 12 car lengths back come Pearson and Baker. Out of turn number 4, still Foyt and Allison.
Fantastic automobile racing as A.J. Foyt goes right almost to the grass, coming across the start-finish line. Johnny Rutherford taking a real strange line through the crescent.
Yes, Ken, A.J.'s good at that. He likes to run very low here through the dog leg of this racetrack and try to gain some advantage. You know, you can try to shake another car off of your draft if you move all over the racetrack, and if we could see on the backstretch, you'd probably see some S patterns down the backstretch at times when cars try to fall in behind you. You make a dive for the inside, then you move back to the outside and try to shake up the draft a little bit so they can't hang on. So when you see A.J. moving down like that, it was either to maneuver traffic. In that particular instance, it was he was trying to pull Ed Negree's draft down the front here to get a little advantage and try to pull him away from Bobby Allison.
Well, that's one of the great mysteries that the stock car drivers never like to talk about, is how they break a draft off from another car. We'll get back with Johnny Rutherford on that subject a little later. Right now in turn number 1, Foyt has pulled away by 20 car lengths over 2nd place runner Bobby Allison. Now here is the 40-lap, 80-mile rundown. At 40 laps, 80 miles, it was then 19. Henley Gray leading with 05. Cisco in 2nd. Richie Panch in 3rd. The 01, Earl Canavan, was in 4th. Going 5th was the number 63 car of Terry Bivens. Going in the 6th position was number 91. And the driver there is the Harold Miller driver. In the 7th position was car number 16, Allison, and 8th was Childress. 9th was the Foyt car, and 10th was David Cisco, and that has changed rapidly here because at lap 45 we have Foyt in front, Allison in 2nd, and a 2-car draft. David Pearson and Buddy Baker running 3rd and 4th are about to overlap, or overhaul, not overlap, but overhaul Bobby Allison, running in the 2nd position. Allison in 2nd, trailing the leader, A.J. Foyt, by 20 car lengths out of turn 2.
As they go down the back chute, by whatever technique, Foyt did manage to break the draft to Bobby Allison, and he's opened up a 100-yard advantage. Pearson and Baker are definitely closing on the Matador to make that a 3-car draft as they move into 3.
This is kind of a surprise for Foyt to run out front. He has broken the draft. Allison is now 15 car lengths back, and Foyt must have some tremendous strength in that Chevrolet to pull away from the field that far. But closing on him now again as they come out of turn number 4 is Allison, Pearson, and Buddy Baker.
Running to 5th position is Kaylee Arborough in 11th. In the 6th position, Benny Parsons blows an engine. Parsons exploding an engine as they go down into turn 1. Right straight behind him on his rear bumper was Richard Petty, who jammed his car down to the inside of the racetrack to get out of the oil or debris which might come back up through and take the radiator out of the STP Dodge. A bad moment as Benny Parsons in the Kings Road Fireplace car erupts an engine right at the start-finish line in one of the fastest places on the Michigan International Speedway. And there is a potential shower backed up a few miles away, so they are trying to move this race along, but today, the fates are working against it as car number 72, Benny Parsons, who blew the engine right here in the start-finish line, has coasted all around the speedway. It looks to me like he may be under power, but he still has some power going as he comes down on pit road. And the 1975 Daytona 500-mile champion, 1973 Grand National champion, takes the Kings Road Fireplace Chevrolet back to the garage area. Parsons, on the basis of his winning the Daytona 500 this year, has been selected to be one of the 12 drivers in the International Race of Champions, which starts here at the Michigan International Speedway on Saturday, September 13th. We asked Parsons about his feelings being selected to be part of that top 12 to run in the International Race of Champions this year, beginning here at Michigan in September.
That's hard to, how can I tell you what a thrill it was? I mean, there's really not words to describe the feeling that I had when Russ Richter came up to me and said, we would like for you to compete. It's fantastic. It's great. It was like the Daytona 500 all over again. Like pulling in Victory Lane and Daytona all over again. It's just a magnificent feeling.
So Benny Parsons will join that elite group who start the International Race of Champions in September here on this same 2-mile racing facility. Here comes the leader, number 28, A.J. Foyt, showing in first place. That big lead of his evaporates with this third caution period of the day as still another engine comes unglued. The oil came out. We don't know exactly what blew, but anyway, Parsons is behind the wall, Johnny Rutherford, and that's got to be a shaky feeling. Having a man right on your rear bumper. All you can see in the rearview mirror are another man's eyes, and all of a sudden you realize that the gauges are doing a dance such as they are not supposed to do.
That's right. It becomes a situation where you're riding along there comfortably, and all of a sudden things erupt, and you're in traffic. You've got a lot of cars around you drafting. He had Richard Petty tucked up very close to him there, trying to make a move on him, and suddenly yours lets go. You're trying to maintain control, hoping that you don't get in your own oil and get out of shape and spin, which is very easy to do under those circumstances. And, of course, you're hoping that the people around you don't get caught up in it and maybe bounce something through their windshield or through the radiator or through an oil cooler or something. And it gets very touchy. And really your biggest concern is just maintaining control and getting down out of the way and hoping that, you just don't cause much trouble.
Johnny, when you're behind someone that does detonate an engine and the parts begin to fly, what's it like? Do you have a chance to do anything, or all of a sudden are they by you?
Well, it's one of those things where it depends on what the circumstances are, but you're running very quickly like that, and your main concern is to get ready for a slip and slide situation. Maybe you get all hunkered down in the seat, and you get a big hold of the steering wheel and try to guess which way it may go. They also try to make a move to get out of any debris that may be bouncing off of the track or flying through the air, and you pay attention to what's going on, and it gets a little close.
The leaders are back on pit road here at Brooklyn, Michigan. The American Motors Matador, the Coca-Cola car, number 16, is in for right side rubber. It looks like just a check of tires and fuel for Richard Petty. Cecil Gordon takes on fuel and left side tires. Right side tires for car number 88, Darrell Waltrip. Pearson and Baker both top the tank and come back into the exercise, while car number 11 joins the hunt after just filling the tank. Left side tires for Frank Warren's car number 79, the beautiful gold and black automobile, a Dodge car out of Harrisburg, North Carolina. Allison, one of the last drivers to leave pit road. We are showing 50 of 200 laps complete in the Champion Spark Plug 400 from Michigan International Speedway. This is the Motor Racing Network. A wash of sound rippling down out of turn numbers 3 and 4. The green is out, and the champion spark plug 400 at Brooklyn, Michigan is back underway. This $100,000 Winston Cup Grand National Stock Car Race sees a full Oklahoma land rush down into turn number 1, led by Supertex A.J. Boyd in the Gilmore Broadcasting Chevrolet.
And yes, is right on his tail. It's David Marcus, who's been up and back and up and back, and right now is doorpost to doorpost with the leader. Those two brilliant red racing machines come off turn 2, point the leader, and running in the second spot, Dave Marcus in the number 71 Dodge. They go down the back stretch as the rest of the leaders try to get through traffic.
Foyt shows amazing strength again as he broke the draft coming out of the number 4 corner, took the lead down the backstretch. He's being chased right now by Dave Marcus, and there was just a wisp of smoke from Marcus's car as he went into turn number 1 that last time around. It is still Foyt. He is 8 car lengths ahead of Marcus. Up in third spot moves Dick Brooks. Back and forth right now is David Sisko. The field moves back to the start-finish line.
Bounding up through the field come Richard Petty, the 21 car of Pearson, and Cale Yarborough as well as Allison. They were way back tailgating, and now they're slicing through competition, trying to overhaul the leaders.
Yes, Cambridge Junction shuffle time down there in turn 1 as those 4 cars that were among the early leaders cut through traffic, and they're back 8 or 9 positions. Petty is leading the way with Pearson right behind him. Then comes Bobby Allison, then Cale Yarborough, and they are running 4 deep as they come down the back chute. Up front, A.J. Foyt is leading it.
Something is wrong with the K&K car. Marcus falling back through the field as they swing by him down the backstretch. Marcus way off the pace down at the bottom of the apron. He will be heading for the pits. Meanwhile, Foyt is out front. Dick Brooks has moved into second spot. David Sisko is still your third place car. Richie Pants is fourth as they move out of the corner.
The K&K number 71 is slowing down. It's going to come out of pit road. Dave Marcus is in trouble. Here's Marcus's car pulling down on a pit road, number 71. Meanwhile, Allison, Yarborough, Baker, Waltrip are thundering up from the rear of the field, moving on those leaders who continue to be A.J. Foyt in first, and Porterville, California's Richard Brooks victimized by a 13-time end-over-end 190-mile-per-hour crash a week ago, is back here running a backup car, a short-track car, and the Truxmore Industries number 90 with Brooksy is now in second place at turn 3.
Ken, this is unreal. Foyt has opened up at least a 2, maybe 3-second separation on everybody back in the field, and he's continuing to pull away from Dick Brooks. He comes out of the corner, and can you believe this car is running this strong?
Marcus is pitted and back on the track in 18 and a half seconds. He is back underway. He did not lose a lap as he comes out, although A.J. is about to try and put a lap on him in turn 1.
As they move into turn 1, Foyt comes storming up behind the Harry Hyde-built car of Dave Marcus. Marcus put right-side tires and gas in the automobile. It looked like a routine stop. The hood pins did not come out, and he's back up to racing speed. But A.J. Foyt is bearing down on him, trying to put him a lap down.
That sounds as if car number 71 may have had a tire equalize out there, as if something went wrong and a tire change on car number 71, and they had to come in and change rubber around. Here's Marcus staying in front of car number 28, Foyt, but he is running on the tail end of the lead lap. Meanwhile, in second is Richard Petty. He's come by Richard Brooks, who drops to third. Leader is there, car number 28. Second place car is now number 43, and Petty trails the leader by 4 and 3/10 seconds into the first turn.
As they go stuffing it down into the first turn, Richard Petty running in second spot takes it all the way out to the wall, then turns left and begins to open up a separation over Richard Brooks. David Pearson content for the moment to run on Brooks' tail, and right behind him is Bobby Allison. They come off turn 2. Pearson looks to the inside and moves up on the rear deck of Brooks, attempting possibly to make the move to take him into third spot.
Brooks dropped the chase on Foyt as they go down the backstretch. Now Richard Petty takes it up. Petty about 3 seconds back, and he doesn't seem to be making much ground on A.J. as he comes into turn number 4. Meanwhile, a shuffle back in third position. The Pure Later Mercury of David Pearson just moves up to third spot. Brooks is in fourth position. Bobby Allison back in fifth.
Going 6 is Cale Yarborough's Holly Farms Valvoline, car number 11, and running in the 7th position is car number 05, David Sisko. 8th is Baker. Running 9th is Bruce Hill, 10th is Richie Panch, 11th is Darrell Waltrip, and in 12th is Richard Childress, with 13th Bruce Jacoby, 14th Dean Dalton, 15th Henley Gray, 16th is Cecil Gordon, and 17th is Walter Ballard. That's now with 57 laps complete as they stream by, and everybody pretty much in that lead lap because of that lengthy stay under caution. Meanwhile, up in turn number 1, turn number 3, A.J. Foyt is attempting to overhaul car number 71 at Dave Marcus and put him a lap down. A.J. Foyt continues to extend his lead as he works the 60th lap here. He now has a 3 and 8/10 second advantage over car number 43, Richard Petty, in the second position. But there's a change in third position. Coming out of turn number 2 and down the backstretch, car number 16, Allison, finds himself in second, being challenged by the Silver Fox. David Pearson running in third. Ed McGree is back on pit road, as is Earl Canavan's car. The hood is up on number 01 Canavan. Out of turn number 4, here comes Pearson down to the inside. Foyt stays in front. Commandeering this race by a good margin. He's put a lap on Dave Marcus. That third place battle is the story right now. In third position, it is a war between the American Motors Matador, number 16, and David Pearson, number 21, as they go to turn 1.
We've seen these two superstars battling so many times before, and here they are again with Bobby Allison running up high on the groove, sitting in third spot. The Silver Fox, David Pearson, is down one racing lane below him, riding in fourth. Pearson contends that time to follow him around. Now he closes up the separation and gets right on the rear deck as they go toward turn 3.
Pearson just literally pushes him into the corner, then backs off, opens up about a car separation as they get into the number 3 corner. But Pearson not taking any chances, waiting to make his move. Meanwhile, Richard Petty now moving around Dave Marcus, and Petty is beginning to gain a little ground on the leader. A.J. Foyt, as he crosses the start-finish line, putting another lap on the board.
He is definitely closing. It's only 3 seconds now between first and second as Petty puts his boot in it, puts the hammer down at turn number 1. Richard Petty is closing on A.J. Foyt, the leader.
Petty getting a lot of help of Dave Marcus in the KK Dodge. Now Marcus slips up high. Got it a little sideways and lost the draft on Petty. Petty was getting help, and that was allowing him to close up on Foyt, but he's got good horsepower. Meanwhile, that race for third and fourth continues, and once again, Bobby Allison staves off the Silver Fox, David Pearson.
At turn number 3, A.J. Foyt in the Chevrolet is in front, but that lead is beginning to diminish. Nibbling away is Richard Petty in the STP Dodge.
Again, the complexion of this race is going to change very shortly, I think, because as we look all around the back of the Speedway, there's about 3 separate thunderstorms in the area. They're definitely moving across the corners, and any moment it looks as though the bottom could really fall out here for at least probably 10 or 15 minutes. Let's go back to the tower.
2 and 4/10 seconds now between first and second as Petty continues to persevere in his effort to overcome Super Tex A.J. Foyt. The Chevrolet continuing to lead, the Dodge beginning to nibble away again on that rear bumper. Meanwhile, in third, it's the American Motors Matador with Bobby Allison, and in fourth, number 21, David Pearson. They're at turn 3.
Petty is really chopping the distance down on A.J. Foyt now as they work around some of the slower traffic. Here goes Petty up alongside Jabe Thomas's car. As Foyt comes out of the number 4 corner, he'll be running up on slower traffic. This is going to give Richard a chance to chop it even further, and Petty now about 15 car lengths back.
With 64 laps complete, Richard Petty has closed it to 1.5 seconds between first and second. Petty continues to throw that car into turn 1, thrust it harder and harder to the bottom of the track, and try to shorten this 2-mile speedway up out of turn 2.
Foyt doing all he can to hold him off masterfully, using the draft off some of those slower cars, but Richard Petty seems to have the steam at this moment, because when they're running alone, Petty is definitely nibbling away. They move down toward turn 3 as the lead continues to shrink.
Foyt extremely strong in the straightaway, but again, Petty chops down a little distance, maybe 4 or 5 car lengths as they get into turn number 3. Up in the number 4 corner, A.J. Foyt sweeps to the outside. Richard Petty about 12, still 15 car lengths back. Here's Foyt to the start-finish line.
Across the stripe, and the interval this time is 1 and 5/10 seconds. It stays about the same as Petty was lapping cars in turn 4. It looked like he may have lost a few car lengths. Third place still Allison, fourth place still Pearson, fifth place the Timmonsville Terror, Cale Yarborough, and the Junior Johnson car number 11. First 4 cars. The interval only 6 seconds between the first 4 automobiles. Working statistically with us today, Frank Wiley. Always good to see him when we come up here to the Michigan area. Bob Latford, our statistician, just handed us a regular statistician, the 60-lap rundown, 120 miles. And we had then Foyt in first, Petty in second, Allison third, Pearson fourth, running in fifth, Cale in sixth, David Pearson, rather sixth, car number 90, Richard Brooks. Then in seventh was Buddy Baker. And it's 1 second between first and second now between Foyt and Petty. In eighth, David Sisko. In ninth, Bruce Hill.
Let me interrupt you. The rain is beginning to fall here on turns 3 and 4, and in just a moment we're going to have a deluge here on the track.
In 10th, number 88. That is the Darrell Waltrip car. In 11th is Richie Panch. In 12th is Dean Dalton. 13th is Richie Childress. And yellow is coming on the track. In the 14th position, Cecil Gordon. And in 15th, car number 37, Bruce Jacoby. As a shower begins to develop, they are bringing out the caution flag. Caution is on the speedway. Let's go to Barney Hall. Barney Hall at turn 4.
This is Dave Despain at turn 1. Barney Hall, I think, has dashed for cover, Ken Squire. The rain has just reached us, and it is pouring down out of the Brooklyn Hills of Michigan. Those black clouds have erupted on the speedway. The cars are beginning to get down to yellow speed, but it's really pouring down rain as the fans go scurrying for cover. Back to you, Ken Squire.
We'll let you get under your umbrella, and we'll keep it right here at the Michigan International Speedway, where the race is coming under caution in the 66th lap. Johnny Rutherford just saying it's really raining, and indeed it is. It's pouring down. Some of the crews are using their signboards from pit road as an umbrella, getting any kind of cover they can as the rain just comes flooding down and the field is being brought up. Caution flag is on, and down in turn numbers 1 and 2, a couple of cars have spun under caution. Dave Despain? Dave may have moved in down there at the moment. Here's A.J. Foyt coming up to the line, talking with John Bruner and saying in one lap we're going to bring you in and park you. They are under caution at the present time. Cars numbers 40 and 70 have spun in the rain. The caution was out for D.K. Ulrich and J.D. McDuffie's car, but they've slithered to the bottom of the racetrack. One has fired and is back underway. I don't believe they were in contact with anything, but they have spun in turn number 2, and we have a pretty good-sized shower coming in and a bit of wind, which would seem to be very optimistic, John. It isn't going to sit here. It's going to roll through, but it is going to be a shower that will take some time to dry this 2-mile racing facility.
Yes, and I can see cars down there. They're just creeping. The ones on the bank, unfortunately, are starting to slide all over the place. It's very much a situation where the cars are hydroplaning with the slick tires on. They go down. We had this at Indianapolis the last few laps this year, and the cars are just virtually out of control under these circumstances. When you get up, they've all slowed down to a snail's pace. There's still one car parked down there, I noticed. They got off into the grass, and of course with the heavy rains it just automatically stuck them, and they were busy trying to slide out of it. I think everyone's moving now, but it is really raining.
So as the rains come down here at Michigan, we are going to see a red flag, I believe, when they come back by. John Bruner Jr. has a red flag in hand, and he will be bringing this field to a halt on the start-finish line. They will stay in position. Crews will not be allowed to work on them. The cars will be brought down. I imagine they'll bring out some tarpaulins and lay them over the automobiles, but no work can be done on the automobiles. Earl Canavan's car is a fortunate one at the present time. He was on pit road, and as long as those cars are rolling, he can continue to work on his car, but I think he has to cease and desist the minute that the field is stopped. There is a NASCAR inspector down there with him. They have the hood up on car number 01, the Kawasaki car. So we have some of the field now pulling up here, and a red flag will bring them down. Here's Almo Langley's 64, the Terry Bivens. What a beautiful car Terry Bivens has, this 63, and James Hilton's car. Well, we have another caution. That's number 4, and this one leads to a red flag, and this reminds us of the first time we were here back in 1969. We had a 600-mile race. I think we started at noon, and we went off the air at about 7:45 at night. We had a couple of delays for showers and rain back in 69. Had a marvelous time. Marvin Panch and I, we discussed everything from politics to Spanish philosophy and the Spanish Civil War. And we may have that opportunity again, John. I hope you have some geographical or historical knowledge you can impart, because we may turn this from a race into an educational experience at any moment.
Oh, well, it's certainly coming down here now, and the cars have all pulled up here on the front straightaway, slowing down and just virtually creeping along. The red flag is out by Johnny Bruner Jr., and crews are running out with tarpaulins and car covers ready to throw them over the cars to keep them from getting drowned out there. It's like I say, it's really coming down, although the wind is blowing, and it could blow this through very quickly. And with the temperature we've been having here and the wind blowing, it may dry out quicker than we think.
Now, there are 36 cars in the race. 2 officially have retired. That's the Marlin car that crashed, the Jackie, 3 cars, Benny Parsons' car, which unwound an engine, and the Jackie Rogers car. The remainder are out here. Earl Canavan's car on pit road. They're now putting the tarp over that, and the pit crews come wandering out, using the tarps for themselves on the way out, knowing but they'll go home well-bathed to pit road after they have covered these $25,000 racing machines. And all the cars are now down toward the exit of pit road. They are on the Speedway, not on pit road, on the Speedway, and they're being covered. Earl Canavan's car comes out, and he looks like a 30-footer in a 25-foot gale. Just kind of...
It's very interesting. It looks like almost like a Gold Cup boat running down the straightaway there.
Johnny Rutherford, we want to take a moment here. We're going to change sports right now.
Right.
Have an opportunity to. We seldom have that opportunity. I'll tell you, John, we're so sick of talking to the coach. He comes up every time, you know. Now and he tells all these football stories that no one believes.
Right.
Well, we've got a guy that's going to tell it like it is here today.
Right. We're going to find out if he's really telling the truth.
Tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth about him. We allowed him to come up here. We figured this might happen to defend himself if necessary. Les Richter from the LA Rams is here, the gentleman who puts Riverside International Raceway together. And Les, you probably heard on the radio broadcast a few moments ago, Benny Parsons saying how elated he was to be selected to the International Race of Champions. And when that gets underway in October out at your facility, and the thing kicks off here in September, good to have you up here. But today, we've got an additional starter. Do we have one more microphone? We want to get Bob Whitlow. Can we get him onto that mic at the same time? Let's do it. Richter from the Rams. And we had a driver who came up here today. Sit down, Bob. And Bob Whitlow tried to qualify car number 51 for today's race. The car failed. And some of you folks listening who follow a lot of sports probably well recognize Bob Whitlow's name, playing for the National Football League for 9 years in Detroit, Atlanta, and Cleveland. And for a while he played opposite the coach. I'm sorry to see you're not in the race today, that big block car of yours, Bob. Let's start right there. That's kind of a heartbreaker to come up here and primp for a race and then watch the other guys take off to have fun and you're sitting home.
Well, that's true. I'm very disappointed, but really we didn't have the car ready like it should have been with the crew and everything, so I guess that's what I should expect, but disgusted is a better word, I think, than disappointed.
Well, at least you're out of the showers today. You'd be down there right in the middle, but you probably like that better.
No, I kind of like it up here.
I understand when you played in Detroit, you did a lot of this.
Yeah, this looks like a normal Sunday afternoon.
Did you ever play in weather like this against Richter?
I'm not sure. Probably. We used to like to go out to Los Angeles there and play in that nice sunny weather.
Well, everybody in motorsports likes to talk about the coach as the only football player, and of course he perpetrates this scheme right along. It's good for his public relations. They write great columns about him in the LA Times. Now, what about Richter? When you went head-to-head with him out there, what kind of a guy was he?
Well, he was a pretty tough football player, believe me.
He's been a pretty tough promoter. Les, you going to bring him to the coast next year?
Well, Ken, Bob's been racing for a number of years with the United States Auto Club in their stock car division, and is very interested in looking at what's going on here. And as he said, when he got here, the car just wasn't quite ready for the competition that we've seen out here already today, and we hope we'll get back going on pretty soon. And I think Bob wants to get his thing together, and if he can, then I think you're going to see another ex-football player involved in this great sport of motor racing.
Why would anyone want to leave football to come to motorsports, Bob Whitlow?
Well, I think after about 3 knee operations, I got to where I couldn't run, and I had to leave. I didn't want to. I had to.
What do you like about it? Where did you ever get started in auto racing, Bob Whitlow?
Well, I'm from Bloomington, Indiana, and I've, of course, watched Indianapolis 500 many times, and I really always liked, watching them, and finally I just got tired of watching them, and I said, I just wonder if I can go in the corners and stuff with them, so best way to do is get a car and find out.
Bob Whitlow is with us, formerly the National Football League, and Les Richter. One of the great legends, Les, is that you used to go to races on the West Coast with Johnny Boyd, and he went to racing, and you went to football, and the only reason you went to football because you were too big to get in the midgets.
Well, that's how I first, as a real little tiny person, I got interested in racing, was watching the midgets back in the late 30s and early 40s before World War II. And never thought that I would be involved like we are today, but it's a great sport, and I'm delighted to be a part of it and participating in trying to make this great sport more popular and more enjoyable for all the great spectators that we have out there, and I just again say that we've had the misfortunes today of some bad weather, but it's very possible as the day goes on we're going to get some clearing and we'll be able to get this race restarted and get it in today. But we're looking forward to September 13th here at Michigan, which will be the first National City Travelers Checks Michigan Grand Prix weekend, which will feature the United States Auto Club 150-mile race and the first leg of the International Race of Champions. And then we go to Riverside for October 25th and 26th, where the California Grand Prix will be run, and then Daytona on February the 13th. So I hope all your listeners that are out there will kind of mark those dates down, because they'll see a great racing at all of those tracks on those weekends, but they'll see one of the finest spectacles in motorsport racing. That's the International Race of Champions.
Bobby Whitlow, what are your plans from here? You were saying yesterday you kind of hoped to make the race, and now here you are, and there they are, and we're in the midst of a rainstorm, hence you don't hear the sound of engines nor the description of this race right now if you're just joining us. We've closed it off at 68 laps while the track is being momentarily flooded, a brief inundation, and then we're going to see Foyt and Petty once again running 1 and 2 in this great battle of the Giants. But right now it's a rain shower. Bob Whitlow, formerly of the Detroit Lions in Atlanta and Cleveland, is here. What do you feel about this sport? Can you get the same kicks out of this one that you used to get out of football?
Well, I think so, but the big difference here is money and getting the car ready. You know, you can play football if you can buy a pair of shoes and you got the desire, you want to work out and get yourself ready.
I got my shoes free.
Well, they used to charge me last time. I was in about my 3rd year, and they finally, when you play regular, they let you have some free shoes. But really, I mean, that's basically the difference. I think it takes a lot of desire. You know, I always wanted to be a professional football player, and I worked at it till I made it. I'd like to be a racer, and I mean where I can run up, you know, in the top 10. And in the USAC competition, I'm running up in the top 12 with the best finish of 5th in the Pocono 500 last year. But I would like to run Grand National, but it's a money ball game. It's just that simple. You've got to have the money to do it, and you've got to have the right help. And right now, I'm not sure I have either.
Well, let's look forward to seeing Bob Whitlow out here in some more stock car competition. It is a mire right now. It is really pouring. With at the present time, the lead automobile, the scoreboard just went out. It may have been hit by lightning. It really is ricketing around. We've seen the dancing fire all down pit road here in the past hour, and you could probably hear the thunderclaps. Well, it's knocked out the scoreboard at the present time. We can still tell you, though, that A.J. Foyt is sitting right out in front. The 6-time United States Auto Club champion. No other driver in history, with the exception of Richard Petty, resting in 2nd place, can say that. Petty, of course, still has a few more races before he can claim his 6th national title. But they are the two giants. They are the Babe Ruths and Lou Gehrig's of our sport, and right now they're 1 and 2 here. When this race resumes, this crowd is going to see the classic confrontation that American motorsports has to offer. Super Tex against the gentleman from Level Cross. Barney Hall, have you ever seen it rain as hard as it is right now? Barney's the turn man from turn 4. He just floated by for a moment.
This is what they call down where we live in North Carolina a frog strangler.
A frog strangler. I don't think the frog would even have a chance to gulp in what's coming down here right now.
When we came up Thursday, we flew up in Pearson's airplane, and we flew in to Jackson, Michigan in a storm just very similar to this. We were bouncing all over the sky. We lost about 600 feet in about half a second, and Pearson's color changed about 3 times. We've had a couple of bad storms here all weekend.
Pearson's a good pilot, is he not?
He is now. No, he really is. David, he's an extremely good pilot. For some reason, the radar service was not working in this area. It's the reason we were flown into it inadvertently, I'm sure, you know, and the radar, as soon as we got in the storm real bad, the guy in air traffic control said the radar service was terminated in this area. And for about 4 minutes, we didn't really know which way to go. We lost both radios on the aircraft at the same time. Lightning popped the airplane a little bit and put an RF charge on it. The only instrument we had working that would really give us a direction of where to go was the DME on the thing.
So Pearson, you would say, is at this point a veteran, all-time authority on flying?
Yeah, he is.
Who else was with you on that little jump?
Dick Brooks got a little taste of that also, and a fellow that flies with Davidson from Spartanburg, a fellow named Claude Horton. He's an instructor down there. When Claude changed colors, he has about 12,000 hours of flying time. When his color changed, I knew we were in trouble.
But you got it down. You found the airport.
Yeah, we made it in okay. We flew about 3 or 4 minutes, and all of a sudden there was a hole in the stuff, and I guess the man upstairs just said, put you down there.
Barney, do you remember when David tried to land on the backstretch here, and he almost went right off the third turn? You were with him that time, too, right?
Yeah, we were landing downwind. There's no windsock here, and they were going to pick us up on the backstretch, and we came in downwind, which gives you a little extra ground speed when you touch down, and we ran all the way down into the third turn, and actually the prop kind of dug into the asphalt a little bit, which we've had a lot of wild experiences in aircraft, but it's a lot of fun.
The adventures of a Grand National superstar.
We were talking earlier about Pearson. He's getting into sportsman racing pretty heavy. He's just got his new sportsman car from Banjo Matthews, and it's really a super good car. They took it to Dixie Speedway and ran the car down there. I think a lot of folks who never get a chance to see the superstars on the big tracks will have a chance to see them run in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina this coming weekend. He and Cale Yarborough and Bobby Allison all will be down there for that NASCAR late model sportsman race at Myrtle Beach, South Carolina next weekend, and David will have an outing in his car, and it'll be a chance for the folks to see how these guys fare against some of the top sportsman runners in the South, because just about everybody will be there.
While we're talking about schedule, and we have a moment to talk about almost anything here today, let's take a look at the upcoming schedule beyond this race. I would tell you racing fans that the schedule, in case this event was rained out today, would be the next clear day, which would mean tomorrow, Barney. And September 1st is the Southern 500 at Darlington, South Carolina. Then on September 7th, the Capital City 500 in Richmond, Virginia. And the day previously, Kenny Campbell, on that day previous, September the 6th, the NASCAR Baby Grands will be participating in an event there. Then on September 14th, the Delaware 500 at Dover, Delaware. September 21st is the Wilkes 400 at North Wilkesboro, North Carolina. And there's a Baby Grand race prior to that, the day before, on September 20th at Enoch Staley's facility. September 28th will be the largest payoff on what they call a non-super speedway, half-mile track in this country. And it's a $75,000 payoff at the Old Dominion Speedway in Manassas, Virginia, where when last we journeyed there, they had 34,000 paid admissions. And there, pardon?
Ken, you mentioned Manassas, Virginia, and that
I'm sorry, I mean the Manassas, I beg your pardon. The Old Dominion 500. Now I was thinking of the Old Dominion Speedway in Manassas, Virginia. The Old Dominion 500 at Martinsville, Clay Earl's facility. And the Old Dominion, that great Virginia race, is going to be scheduled on September 28th. October 5th is the National 500 in Charlotte, North Carolina. And the day previous will be the World Service Life $100,000 sportsman race at Charlotte on that great mile-and-a-half track. October 19th is the American 500 in Rockingham, North Carolina. And November 2nd will see the Volunteer 500 at Bristol, Tennessee. November 9th will be the Dixie 500 in Atlanta, Georgia. And November 23rd terminates the 1975 schedule with the running of the Los Angeles Times 500 at Ontario, California. And that race will decide the national standings for 1975. The rain has abated somewhat, but it's going to be a few moments before we get this one ready to go full throttle again for sure. From the R.J. Reynolds Tobacco Company, Wayne Robertson is here. Some of his people have been serving as spotters today. Wayne, have you ever seen it rain this hard in Winston-Salem as what we've enjoyed today?
Well, I'll tell you, Ken, it flat put it down a while ago, but I think it's going to clear it. We might get this boy in.
Well, I'll tell you another thing is that just in the past 5 minutes, whereas before we couldn't see 400 feet across the infield, we can now see all the way across, back to the backstretch, and the horizon is beginning to brighten a bit, but it has been thick for some time. If you're listening around the nation, this is Ken Squire, the Motor Racing Network. We're in Brooklyn, Michigan, the Motor State 400, and we are in a deluge at the present time, and as soon as the waters let up, the Champion Sparkplug 400, a 400-mile race for the Winston Cup Grand National competitors, will be back underway once again with 68 laps complete. A.J. Foyt leading, Richard Petty in second place. It's still some time before we get ready to race once again here at the Michigan International Speedway. We are in a hole pattern that started on the 68th lap. There had been a total of 3 cautions previously. The first came when Jackie Rogers erupted an engine and went to the wall in turn 3. Later, Cuckoo Marlin blasted an engine and went backwards into the wall at the second turn, and he tore up the barrier on the outside, and we were delayed about 20 minutes while they were repairing the fence in turn 2. The third caution came when Benny Parsons had his engine unhinged as he came down the main straightaway, and the fourth caution led to a red period because of what we have out here right now, a very nasty day in Brooklyn, Michigan. This is the first time I can remember since 1969, and we've had this kind of a deluge, and we really had it that day back in 69 when finally we ran 347 miles. We started 44 cars that year, and David Pearson won. That was the very first race they ever ran on this racetrack. And it was at 7:45, and as darkness settled over the Irish Hills, we concluded the event with the Silver Fox in first place to take his first of so many wins on this speedway. And standing by is one of the greatest gentlemen in the history of this sport with Ken Campbell.
Ken, you said earlier that you'd like to talk with Richard Petty. Well, here he is, and Richard said he'd like to talk with you. We'll have Buddy Baker and A.J. Foyt over in just a few minutes, so here's Richard.
Well, are you having a good time?
I was doing pretty good till it started raining, then my time's not doing too good right now.
I mean, if you had a good time so far out there, you were closing.
Yeah, I felt like I was doing pretty good. I was having a good time. The car was working real good, and the track kept getting a little bit slicker and a little bit greasier, and the further we went, the better off looked like we was going to be, because we'd done pulled away from most everybody and was catching up with AJ, and I felt like by the time I caught up with him, I might be able to even get away from him, because his car looked like after he'd run a few laps, the tires got pretty hot, and he couldn't get through the corner too good, and our car was handling good, and naturally it's running good too.
3 and 9/10 seconds. Wasn't that right, Johnny Rutherford, at one time? And
yes, and he closed it down to about a second and just a tick over by the time the rains came.
Were you holding back a little earlier, or how come you came up so fast on him?
Well, I hadn't been holding back too much, just to tell you the truth. What happened, that was really the first time we really got to run, because every other time you get started, they had a caution flag or something. They'd run 4 or 5 laps, and nobody really got a chance to really get everything sorted out. And by then, we'd made a couple of pit stops, and I changed the weight around a little bit in the car, and we had 4 new tires and full tank of gas, and we thought maybe that being that we'd already had 2 or 3 cautions, we might get lucky and run a complete green stop. So we wanted to get out as far as we could, so that when we did make a pit stop, we could at least still be with the crowd.
Johnny Rutherford?
Yes, Richard, this is Johnny Rutherford up here. When you came upon Dave Marcus, could you tell, was there anything, was he leaking any oil or anything, or could you see that he might be having some trouble?
Well, I knew he had some kind of trouble, but I didn't really know what it was, because he went down the back stretch and went into the corner and done real good, so I dropped in the groove behind him, and I said, well, I'll go on around and try to get him coming off the corner, and he never did get back in the gas, so I guess particularly he was having some kind of trouble, and then I seen that he pulled back in, and I guess he lost a lap under the green, and then Foyt and myself, had got a lap on him, so I really don't know what had happened to him.
Richard, one of the more frightening moments here came right in front of the grandstand. You were tailgating Benny Parsons as you came down through here, about 160, 165, and the engine hand grenaded on him, and we thought that you might have more than a handful there for a moment.
Well, really, I did too. I had just pulled up on Benny, and after one of the cautions, I'd got to the back of the field, and I'd caught up to Benny, and I caught up with him up in the 3 and 4 corner, and as we come off the 4th corner, I drafted real close to him to get as much draft as I could, and I just started pulling down, to slingshot him, and I got about halfway down on him, and he blew, and I guess I just had the movement already made. If I'd have been a split second slower, then I would have probably run into the back of him.
Have you ever seen it rain like this?
In the last 4 or 5 races we've been to, seems like it has, but it really come down there for about a half hour. I mean, we couldn't even see from one side of the racetrack to the other, so it was raining pretty hard.
Does it ever rain like that in level cross?
I'm afraid it does. I don't know how much over level cross, but it sure does rain in my basement a lot.
In your brand new house, you have a little water leak?
No, we got that one fixed.
Well, how is the car working, Richard?
Well, I think the further we went, I think the better it was working. I don't guess the car was working any better. I think that I probably settled down a little bit and, was more or less getting me a groove sort of laid out, because I got to run by myself some. And when you're running with a bunch of cars, it's really hard to get a groove. You just sort of run where the other people are not at. And then once you get in front of them or you get out by yourself, then you can look for a groove. And I think I pretty well found me a groove at that particular, time of the race, because they do change during the race according to where somebody blows the engine in your groove or something like that. But we had everything going pretty good, and I was running pretty consistent laps, and that's what it takes. So when you settle down, you can run pretty good.
Well, thanks, Richard Petty, for coming by for just a moment. Richard Petty, who is currently in second position in this race, and that is a race which is being held now for some 45 minutes because of inclement weather here in the Irish Hills of Michigan, where it really just poured. It came down, as Ken Campbell reported to you, maybe 2 inches in about 30 minutes, and it stands about 6 inches deep right here in the tri-oval area of the Michigan International Speedway. Richard is running in second place with the STP Dodge to the A.J. Foyt Chevrolet at the present time, but he was doing a super job of overhauling just when the lightning struck for the first time and down came the water. A long stop like this bother you, Richard? He's gone.
Richard has gone, but he's stepping in the car is Buddy Baker, so if you'd like to go right on with Buddy, another one of those front competitors, Kent, here he is.
Well, what about it, Buddy? A long haul like this bug you a little?
You bet. We changed the chassis enough today that we've made the car push, we've made it loose and everything else, and we're still not quite right. We're getting a little bit better. At one time there I was able to pull up in the second, but I guess by halfway we ought to be about halfway right.
Were you close to Cuckoo Marlin when he had problems up here in turn 2 and back near the fence at 160?
No, I think I was in second spot at the time. AJ was leading, I was right behind him, and I think that all the action was behind us.
We just heard a report, Buddy, that it is clearing at the present time. We may get this one in today. I bet that's a relief to you, or would you rather wait?
No, I want to get it over with. Once you get started and really get yourself ready to race, you certainly want to get it in, because, day after tomorrow we have to be in Darlington, and it's a long ride for the guys to get back and get all the cars ready to go down to Darlington. So we definitely want to get it in today if there's any way possible.
You were very confident a week ago at Talladega, and you pulled it off. Are you that enthusiastic about this Michigan race?
I'm still working at it, but quite frankly, we're not running as well here as I would like to be.
What's the difference?
We're not getting through the corners. I'm going in, the car's pushing to the wall, and anytime you got to stay out the throttle halfway through the corner, you're hurting yourself. And when everybody else is accelerating, I'm still trying to get it to turn.
Now the big question, were you able to stay dry?
I don't think anything here is dry. I've never seen it run like that. It went in one door of the garage over here and out the other side. It was awful, I'm telling you.
Well, the report is that it's clearing Jackson and headed this way. And Jackson's down the road about 30 minutes, I guess, and maybe it'll blow in a little quicker than that, but they say that there is good news before the world sees it any different than it has been. And that's been a rainy time. We're looking forward to getting the race back underway here in the Champion Sparkplug 400 with good weather coming from Jackson. A.J. Foyt, are you having a good time?
Well, actually, Ken, we're running about as good as we can run, and it's still a long ways to go in the race.
You certainly got that Chevrolet cranked in the first 50 or 60 laps. You pulled away by 3 and 9/10 seconds over everybody.
Well, this is quite true. It's Hanlon and Hoss Ellington's crew has done a fine job, and so far we haven't really had much problem leading the race. We don't know what the track condition is going to be when the race restarts, and we'll probably have to change some chassis setup and just see if we can hit another combination like we had at the beginning of the day.
Hey, Jay, one of the neatest moves we've seen in some time was right here on the start-finish line when you moved off that car number 8 and broke the draft. We're almost down in the grass, but you sure got yourself away from the rest of the field. I can't think who was behind you, but it looked like you really intended to do it, and you got it done.
Well, naturally, it's a great challenge running against the NASCAR boys. I think whenever you can run up front and run with them, that you're running against the best stock car drivers in the world, and my object is try to win the race and also beat them as well as they want to beat me.
Have you ever seen it rain like this?
We've had a few rains down in Texas about like this.
Oh, boy, this was a good one. Rutherford?
You tell him, A.J. This is Rutherford, A.J. Listen, you better hook him up. But Petty was coming on pretty strong.
Well, this is quite true, Johnny. We did know that he was moving up towards right there before the rain, as you know. He moved up probably a second or so, and then he would kind of help our own. we didn't put on no tires all day, and we was a little bit loose, and I was going to tighten up the chassis, but right now I didn't see no real threat from Petty, even though he was moved up a little bit, because I still had a little bit of left.
Rain going to help you or hurt you, AJ?
Ooh, I don't know. That Chevrolet don't have the horsepower that some of these other cars actually have. You know, the Fords like David and Trent, they do have a little bit, probably 30 to 50 more horsepower. And at the beginning of the race, I could run the car, you know, flat-footed almost all the way around the racetrack, where, you know, with David and Buddy and them, you know, where I was passing was actually going in the corners. It wasn't down the straightaways, and I'll just have to wait and see, but we're going to try and do the best we can.
A.J. Foyt, we're getting very close to having the drivers ordered back to their automobiles. Thanks for a moment of your time.
Thank you, Ken.
Some of the crews are out there nervously waiting for a command from Bill Gazaway to pull the tarps off the cars, Johnny Rutherford, and I think that we are indeed getting to a place where before too much longer they'll actually allow these automobiles to go back on the speedway, and those headers could do just a super job of drying this racetrack, but they don't want to put them out when there's any possibility of crinkling up one of these $25,000 1973 through 1975 automobiles that make up the Winston Cup Grand National Circuit. Again, only one car is on pit road. Earl Canavan's car had come in just before the rain started. The remainder of the field, 32 automobiles, are now lined up just to our right, beyond the start-finish line at the exit of the pit road, but they are actually on the speedway. And the car that is leading the flock is the Gilmore Broadcasting. Car number 28, the red and white numeraled Haas Ellington prepared machine, driven by Supertex, perhaps the greatest driver in the history of the game. And right behind him is the major contender for that same title, Richard Petty. Both six-time national champions, both here today at Cambridge, Michigan, Brooklyn, Michigan, to run this champion Spark Plug 400. The third spot is the American Motors Matador. So it's Chevrolet first, Dodge second, Matador third. Mercury is running in the fourth position with David Pearson, who has had a lock on this track, and race after race come home victorious driving for the Wood Brothers. But now they have some looking up to do. Pearson refers to this as a Ford track. He said this is the one where the Ford should perform well. Buddy Baker, as you heard a few moments ago, disagreed. They still have problems with that subtle business of handling and getting those cars to work geometrically down here in turn number one. Just a little sophistication or even seat-of-the-pants stuff is what it takes to get through. Pearson and Wood Brothers always seem to have it when they come here.
That's true, Ken. You know, A.J. brought the point out that he didn't know. He thought with a clean racetrack now where the tires can get traction that possibly the Fords, who have shown some muscle in races previous, are going to have an advantage. That will be another interesting point to watch to see if David and Buddy do suddenly start picking up and working and gaining ground. And if this is the case, then they will most certainly catch and overhaul A.J. and Richard.
David Pearson, is this your favorite track?
I'd have to say it is. I've had an awful good record here, and we've always done real good here. And it's the way it's laid out, it just seems like it's a Ford racetrack. So you can keep it wound up good here, and as long as anytime you can keep a Ford wound up and not have to back off too much, they run good. So that's the way this racetrack's laid out.
David, do you expect 3 or 4 cars will be together at the finish?
They've always been 3 or 4 here. Seem like more so than anywhere else because, like I said, the racetrack is big enough and wide enough. And you can be 3 or 4 mile an hour off, and you can't often leave anybody here. Like I said, the draft is a big effect here, even more so than, I wouldn't say more so, but as much as Daytona and Talladega. So that's why you always see such a good race here. Like I said, it's big enough that you can draft and wide enough that you can run 3 abreast. And so that's just why everybody likes this racetrack.
Everybody indeed does like this racetrack. David Pearson, a week ago down there at Talladega, Alabama, what broke in the Wood Brothers Mercury?
We dropped a valve spring. A valve spring broke on the engine. In fact, I told them that it wouldn't turn into RPMs like it had been turning about 15 laps before the valve broke. Then I just kept running it with a broke valve spring, and it finally just popped the head off the valve.
David Pearson, one of the all-time greats, who a week ago when that car broke down, he was up here to do the last hour of the broadcast with us. Today he's down there waiting anxiously to get back out and see if he can keep this car cranked back up for still another win on what he calls his favorite track, and most other drivers too, John Rutherford.
Yes, this racetrack is really it's ideal. The shape of the thing, the D shape, it has some things that you have to learn about it, like any racetrack does. But it's high bank, and a high bank racetrack makes up for a multitude of handling sins in a race car. And once you can catch on to it and get things organized, I've been able to do very well here in the National Championship Indianapolis type cars. I've never had a decent break, I don't think, in the stock car situation, but that's just the way it goes. But I do enjoy running just about anything on this type of racetrack.
United States Auto Club, where is your next appearance in the cockpit?
Well, we run here on September the 13th in that dual program. It's the first leg of the International Race of Champions, as well as a championship race here with the Indianapolis type cars. So we'll be going again in about 2 weeks here.
And then after that, it's on to Trenton?
Yes, we have our next to last race of the season at Trenton, New Jersey in late September, and then, of course, early November is the finale for the United States Auto Club Championship Division, with our final in Phoenix, Arizona.
The Michigan International Speedway is rapidly drying out. We expect that within 20 minutes they'll be trying for a start. Turn 3 seems to be the problem area at the present time. The third turn had some water standing on it. That has come off. And the straightaway here in front of us, the trucks and all the equipment being used is dissipating the water there. Turn 3 would seem to be the one area where there is trouble at the present time. The rest of it coming along very, very well. As everyone knows, this has been a tragedy-marked week in motorsport, with the loss last week of Tiny Lund, and then later in the week, Mark Donahue, Formula 5000 driver, P.J. Siebert, lost his life this week. We were talking with Richard Petty yesterday about what he does, what he turns to from himself after such a tragic week as this, and come back to automobile racing to race on a Sunday such as this in Brooklyn, Michigan.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess it's an inborn feeling that, you've got to do something. You just want to do something you like. And I just like racing so much that I think about things like this that's happened, and, maybe I'd be better off doing something else. But then I read the paper or something. I seen where the little boy the other day was playing Little League ball, and he got hit in the head, and he died in about 2 days. And also saw where a golfer was playing golf, and the club come off the end of his club, and they hit his golf cart and come back and hit him and killed him. So then I get to thinking, I say, hey, our sport or our particular profession is no more dangerous than what people are doing just playing around. So looking at it from that standpoint, life must go on.
Richard Petty going on in second place, trying to defeat A.J. Foyt here this afternoon with the Champion Sparkplug 400. Track drying out at the present time. David Pearson is sequestered in the 4th position in the field. He has won this race on 3 occasions. 1969, when rain delayed it and we finally got it underway in the evening hours and ran only 330 miles. He won it again in 1972 and came back in 1974 to be victorious in this event. Charlie Glotzback and Bobby Allison are the only other winners of the event. Pearson today seeking an unprecedented hold on a super speedway such as no driver has ever had, because in the other competition that takes place here earlier in the year, the Motor State 400, Pearson has won 2 of those races, 1972 and 1973, and fashioned a very good finish against Richard Petty the last time he was here, although Petty came home just barely in front of him. So David Pearson is the man to watch here today. He calls this a Ford track. Richard Petty himself calls this a Ford track, says that the Ford has a little more wind, a little more torque coming out of the corners, and that he has to go in a little harder to compensate, drive a little harder on this track to stay with Pearson. No one knows about the A.J. Foyt situation. He just drives hard and runs hard all the time. It was funny yesterday. He qualified fastest Chevrolet, 3rd overall, at 159 miles per hour, .0 something, and a Mercury and a Ford qualified just in front of him. He was furious, absolutely mad. They sent back last night, put a new manifold on the car, because he knew the car could go 160. And all the other guys are very happy to get 159, but Supertex wants it right to the letter.
He always does. That's AJ, and that's what has made him the great competitor and the champion that he is. I race with him quite a bit, all the time in United States Auto Club competition. We've had a chance to be head-to-head several times this year and last year, and AJ is very tough. He doesn't give up, and it's going to bear watching him now with a clean racetrack to see if things go in his favor and he is able to pull away.
He has never mellowed. Most folks, as they go along in the years, they seem to change. AJ will always be AJ, I guess. He's just a super competitor. Or has he changed?
Yeah, he has, Ken. I've known AJ for a long time, and we get together quite a bit down in Texas and visit some if I get to Houston, or he gets up around Dallas-Fort Worth area. And also, we hunt together when we get a chance, both being very busy. He himself quite busy with his Chevrolet dealership down in Houston and everything. And, of course, I've seen him change over the years. I can remember when he wouldn't talk to anybody. He wouldn't have had an interview with us, just as he did. He's mellowed a great deal, I think.
Well, yesterday I noted he was out here. They had a camera day for the fans, and he was out there with all the stock car drivers sitting on the fender signing autographs.
Well, there again. I can remember when he wouldn't do that. He wouldn't sign autographs simply because his mind was maybe cluttered with what he had to do or why he was making the record that he's made for himself. And now he's got it made, you might say, and he's settled back, and just these particular situations where he was sitting out there on his stock car yesterday signing autographs, I think is proof that AJ has definitely mellowed over the years, and I consider him a very good friend, and I think a great deal of him.
For all of his toughness, and for all of that which we hear of the A.J. Foyt legend, you still hear him do things like when George Snyder crashes, badly hurt, first guy around at the hospital and takes him home is A.J. Foyt.
Right, he was, I burned a hand very badly in Phoenix, Arizona back in 1968. And the first one there to help me get on the stretcher and make sure that everything was cared for was AJ. He had dropped out of the race. He came to my aid and made sure everything was taken care of. He came to the hospital, made sure all was taken care of there. He called Betty and broke the news to her gently that I had been injured, and carried me back to the motel, made the plane reservations for me. That's just AJ Foyt, and this is a side of him that a lot of people don't ever get to see.
Standing by with Kenny Campbell right now is another one of the great superstars of American racing, Bobby Allison, who's taken a few moments to join us. I think he could tell you a few stories about AJ. I know that he was delighted when his own brother, having literally been evicted from one car, Foyt's on the phone saying, "I want you in my car if I can't be in it." And that's another one of those things. Right. And I know the Allisons are always appreciative of things like that, the kind of talent they have.
Yeah, that's for sure.
How's it going for the Matador right now, Bobby?
Well, I think we're better than we've ever been here at this race. We're obviously down just a little bit on power off the corner, but the car's really handling and it drafts real well. And it looks like we're able to at least run along there at pretty good speed and pretty consistently, and I'm pretty pleased with it under the circumstances.
Well, as things stand and you get ready to go back out here to do some more racing, Bobby, the consideration is what you do about the suspension. What do you do when the track is totally neutralized? And I'm sure you and John Woodard have had an opportunity to talk about that.
Yes, we have. We discussed that very thing because the track will be completely green on the restart. In fact, it rained so hard that you could actually see it picking the oil and rubber and oil dry right out of the pores of the racetrack and running it down to the bottom while we were going around that last lap. And we feel that the way our chassis is set up that we'll be in pretty good shape on the restart. The car is fairly neutral, maybe even just a slight bit loose, and on the restart with the track green, the car should all pick up some push.
Well, let's hope that you have good luck with that Matador. It's been having some strong days, and at the end of the race, it hasn't been running as well. Valves and things like that, Bobby?
Well, it's true. We've had a terrible time this year getting the kind of quality out of the very expensive racing parts that we buy. We buy the best racing parts, and pretty much the same as all the other people, and I think quality is just generally down this season. I think that shows because of the fact Woods Brothers haven't blown an engine in 3 years, and I guess they've blown 4 or 5 this year. And Petty's has blown a few, and all of the tough competitors have blown some engines, and I think that just goes to show that the handmade parts that we're buying are not quite as good as they used to be.
Well, now to the major question of the day. In our Motor Racing Network poll, it's been almost in unanimity that everyone has said that it probably rains harder in Brooklyn, Michigan than anywhere, particularly where they come from. Compared to Alabama, how was that shower you saw today, Allison?
That was absolutely the hardest shower I've ever seen.
And after we've described the situation here, told you about the lineup 10 times, we're just about ready to bring out that new record they made in Nashville with the singing sensations of NASCAR. But we promised that we wouldn't make you bear under such a strain. One of the perpetrators of that piece of work is with us right now. Darrell Waltrip, are you ready to sing?
I'm ready to sing. Might as well. It's too wet to race.
How is car number 88 working?
Well, today it's not working as well as we'd like for it to. We're a little bit behind what the other 5 or 6 front cars are. The cars are handling fairly decent, but we're just not running real well today, and I guess it's probably our own fault. We're so trying so hard to finish some races right now that we've sort of cut back on power, and it's hurting us a little bit.
What is this going to do to you in your effort today, this shower?
It could help us. I think it may. The car is running a little bit loose, and like some of the guys are saying, it's going to tighten the cars up some because the track will be green, and that's going to help me some, I think. I'm just a tad loose, and like I said, I'm down on power, so I need to run good through the corners. So maybe this will be just what we needed to get us going.
Who are you running right behind? The 47 Bruce Hill?
And I passed 05 and 47 as they brought out the caution flag. I caught them coming off the fourth corner and slid between them as the caution came out. So right now I think I'm up behind Buddy, I believe it is.
That's right. You're right behind Baker, and he'll be going up through. In front of him is car number 90, Richard Brooks.
Yeah.
Now, can you stay with him? Can you lock up in a draft and have him not break you off and ride up to those leaders?
Well, we think we can, Ken. We've been there a couple of times a day and held on for a lap or two, but then the car has been kind of loose and we've fallen behind. But if, in fact, this weather change or the rain has changed the racetrack, well, you know, the whole race could change right now. Everybody was set up one way, and now it's rain, and who knows? It could be anybody could go out front again now.
Well, Darrell, we now look at this 12-degree bank right here at the start-finish line, and it is dry. You're beginning to see where there are black streaks left with some moisture, but the track is drying out, and it looks like we're going to be getting back underway here to get this race over. Your general feelings about running the Champion Spark Plug and the Michigan International Speedway, how do you feel about it?
Well, this is I really enjoy, and I think this is one of the most important races for NASCAR and for all of the stock car people to come to here in Michigan. It's a race sort of up north, and we need more of that. We race in the south basically, and we don't get an opportunity to come this way very often. I feel like that this race and Pocono and the 2 West Coast races are very important races to us and our future. So it's a real pleasure to have a sponsor like Champion sponsoring the race, and not only that, but it's a real pleasure to come to a place that we don't get to see that often. And this is a fine racetrack, and it's a beautiful show, and I'm sorry it rained.
Well, everyone is, but the crowd is filing back in to see you do your thing, and we should be getting that underway, I would say, in about 15 minutes. That track is coming along that well. From Franklin, Tennessee, young Darrell Waltrip.
Hello, everybody in Nashville.
Okay.
And Owensboro.
And Owensboro, Kentucky.
And the Wedhead ain't dead.
We heard that earlier. We heard that. Jane Chastain laid that one on.
Are you serious?
That's
right. Stole my line. I'll have to talk to her about
that. We have some results from other racetracks around the country. The Greenville Speedway in Pickens, South Carolina. Greenville, Pickens, South Carolina had Dr. Bob Jarvis first last night. Benny Harkins was second, and Lonnie Pirkle finished in third. And there is a 100-point lead in the state championship in South Carolina for Jarvis at the present time. Jarvis over Harkins, I believe. But first is Jarvis at Greenville, Pickens Speedway. Track is really drying rapidly now. Again, the area of concern is turn number 3. That seems to be the problem. Earlier, Johnny Rutherford had noted that there was still a pretty good stream running across there. Not quite the Mississippi, but it was up pretty good.
Yeah, it was really coming across there. You could see the safety equipment going down the backstretch without any mist behind the car, and then suddenly they would run through the river over there, so to speak, and it really gushed up. But it looks like now they've got things pretty much under control, and you can see some drying streaks all the way around the racetrack, and it shouldn't be too long now.
Clay Ragazzoni has won the Swiss Grand Prix today. That is a non-point race in the Formula One competition. Ragazzoni driving for Ferrari, and Ferrari continues to have probably the best year they have had in 2 decades in Grand Prix competition. Ragazzoni has won the Swiss Grand Prix this afternoon. You heard it first on the Motor Racing Network, bringing you the Champion Spark Plug 400 from Brooklyn, Michigan, where for over 1 hour we've been either getting wet or getting dried out. And we're pretty well dried out right now, and it shouldn't be too long before Winston Cup Grand National Competition is untethered once again here in race number 20 of the $3.5 million Winston Cup Series for 1975. On pit road, the crews are reassembling. They've all come back from under shelter, and we should be seeing a start to this event very, very shortly. Our expert commentator today is former Indianapolis 500-mile champion Johnny Rutherford. Our turn men are Dave Despade and Barney Hall, with Ken Campbell standing by in the pits. Kenny, any last reactions from you as the crews are breaking back toward the track?
They're all heading back out, and Dick Brooks is here in the car with us now. Ken, you said you'd like to talk to him, and Dick has made the point that he hopes this doesn't become a habit of making this lunch stop. I think Dick had just finished a sandwich and said it was nice to stop for some lunch, but hope we wouldn't make it a habit, and I think you said you want to talk to him. Here he is. Hello there, Ken Squire.
Hello there, Richard Brooks. I'm not surprised at all. You'd use anything for a lunch stop, wouldn't you?
Lord, yeah. I tell you, I didn't get as big as I am by sitting here.
Brooks, last week, 1,000 feet, about 14 times, side over side and end over end. You've seen the world from every angle now. What's your reaction to all that?
Well, I tell you, we work hard to get these cars handling right and stuff, but mine just didn't work too good, upside down and backwards. I had lost a little control of it. Other than that, the world looks about the same way. It's just that you don't know for sure which way you're looking at it.
Did you realize that you were setting new aerial records as you did your little ground astronaut stunt down the backstretch?
Well, I kind of thought I was, and it took so long for it to hit that these guys that's jumping these cars on ramp to ramp jumps and stuff. I was counting while I was up in the air there, and so I don't know for sure how long it took, but I think next time I see one, I'm going to count and see if it took him as long to hit the ramp as it did me. So I think somebody said we set all kinds of records. We plowed up more mud than anybody else, and it just when the windshield come out, the thing hit like a snow plow, I guess, and it just kind of filled the whole thing up with mud. And I don't know, Ken. It would have been more spectacular, I guess, if it had been on the front straightaway, but I believe I'm going to spoil all the fans by keeping the greasy side down from now on instead of showing it.
Yeah, that's right. You would have absolutely splattered them with mud all over. I understand they took out 300 or 400 pounds of mud before they could find the car on the inside from that little scooper job you did.
There was quite a few people that made the statement that they kept going by, or they went by 3 or 4 times before they ever realized who it was. You couldn't make out the car, and it had one of the doors left on it. One of them flew off, but it was such a mess. It took a day and a half to get it out of my hair. I had it back of my neck, and you talk about a redneck. The more you get that Alabama mud on you at 200 miles an hour, you're a redneck.
Brooks, the car today is the old number 93. It's a short track car. How's it working? It must be working well. You qualified 7th. You stayed with the leaders all day.
Well, that's not too bad. We're so much better now than we were down here in the spring that I don't know. It just we're new together. This is the first year, and we keep getting better and better every race. And at Talladega, we really ran super. I think much better than we had anywhere all year, and we've gotten right at a couple times the first half of the season, and I think the second half we get to start where we left off the second half, and so when we come to the racetrack, we're a lot better than we were when we come the first time, and so everything's getting better. The car's just a little bit loose. Darrell was sitting here when I walked up, and I've been around him a little bit in front of him and behind him and stuff, and his car's awful loose too. But everybody now will make a little bit of a chassis change probably, and all the rubber's gone, and the track's going to be a whole bunch different, and they're going to, the drivers have had a good chance to just sit eye to eye with the crew chief and say, well, I'd like to do this or I'd like to do that, and I think we're going to have a whole bunch of different race.
14 times you flipped. How do you physically feel after taking such a terrible beating as that? The next day, how did you feel?
I felt pretty good. I woke up that morning and I was just a little bit stiff. I wasn't really sore, but so I thought, well, I need to go walk it off. So I went out and played 9 holes and shot a 38. So then I was walking that time, and I got a little bit tired, so I got on a cart and finished up with an 80. So I think, playing a few of these tournaments around, I've never been able to do any good in those things, and that would have won most of them. So I think it bettered my golf game.
Well, it certainly took about 5 years off a lot of people's age as they watched you do that number. We're glad to see you back and running in the Truxmore Industries car in competition, and they're now asking for all the drivers to return to their automobiles. So, Brooksy, go out and have a good time.
All right, baby. We'll see you at 12.
We're talking about guys who have set altitude records. I think our co-commentator today, John Rutherford, probably set the all-time one at the Daytona International Speedway. Down the backstretch years ago, didn't you do a big number?
Well, I did, but it didn't get very high. It was one of those things where you kind of stay on the ground. I think at the time I slid farther than anybody else. At least it seemed like it. I got upside down coming out of the second turn, and the car, it was really, to watch it on film, it was unique in the fact that the car didn't start bounding. It got in the air just a little bit at the beginning, but it rolled over on its top. It was Bud Moore's Mercury, and the car just kind of rolled over on its top and started spinning around very slowly and went right straight down the straightaway, inverted, ground halfway through the roll bars on the top. You could go over and pick up the corner of the top and peer into the car after they got it right side up. It was very unusual. One of the lighter sides of what came out of that was the fact that I made the statement just after the accident that when the car got upside down and was sliding along, I was unconsciously reaching for the brake pedal and putting the brakes on. Well, naturally, with the wheels pointing straight up in the air, they weren't doing a darn thing to slow the thing down. It just did its own thing and slid to a stop, and it was quite a harrowing experience. I was really glad. Another funny side of the thing was when it stopped, I unhooked the seat belt and promptly fell right on my head, and then I was crawling around in the car trying to look out the windows to see which side of the car I wanted to exit on. I didn't want to crawl out in front of somebody boring down at 170 plus, so I was looking around, and that was really the only injury I sustained. Was the leading edge of the roof was very hot when I unbuckled and dropped to the top of the car, and it burnt my knee just a very little bit.
How many feet did you slide?
I don't know if they ever really measured it. Someone made a guesstimation that it was somewhere in the neighborhood of 900 feet or better. So it was a long way.
It was a long way.
A long way.
Well, Ken Squire, this is Ken Campbell in the pits. Junie Donlevy's office is less than a half mile from our office in Richmond, where they build that number 90. And when I got back from Talladega on Monday, I went by the shop. And by Monday afternoon, about 4 o'clock, they had that number 90 completely stripped down. They sent it to the frame shop on Tuesday, and the crew at home is putting the body on it this week. So that's the way that 90 volunteer crew works. Now back to you.
All the crews are moving back, and the tarpaulins are coming off the race car. The sky is breaking. The track is drying out, and we're getting set for resumption. The last of the competitors are moving back to the automobiles. The safety crews are out there, the inspectors watching as the crews remove the tarpaulins and don't make any adjustments on the cars. Not allowed. All they can do is strap the drivers back in the machines. There will be about 12 laps under a caution before they cut them loose, and there will be a host of changes made on these cars on pit road as we have a totally different situation. This chessboard has been changed. The squares are all different now than they were a while ago. Whereas this track was beginning to be ringed with oil, it's now a far different situation, and we'll be getting a start very, very shortly. And when we do, pit road will be where the action is. From Michigan International Speedway, this is the Motor Racing Network. The red flag was out 2 hours and 12 minutes over the Michigan International Speedway. The sun is beginning to perkle through a little here today, and it's percolating the enthusiasm of these fans once again. We're trickling back into the grandstand in a goodly number. The flow is picked up. They're all back in their seats, ready to see the continuation of this confrontation between six-time United States Auto Club National Champion A.J. Foyt of Houston, Texas, and the soon-to-be six-time NASCAR Grand National Champion, the great Richard Petty of Level Cross, North Carolina. And then, just to sparkle the mixture today, the great David Pearson in the Purolator Mercury, Buddy Baker, who's won 2 out of his last 3 starts in the famous Bud Moore white blue numeral car number 15. Some of the young lions like Richard Brooks of Porterville, California, Darrell Waltrip of the Nygaard, number 88, Richard Childress holding up extremely well in the competition today. And we can't neglect Cale Yarborough's number 11, the hard charger from Timmonsville, South Carolina. The standings have taken a dramatic change once again, with 70 laps showed and complete. Number 05, David Sisko, Nashville, Tennessee, finds himself in the front running position, with car number 33, Bruce Jacoby, then showing second, and number 91, one, going to third position, Harold Miller. Harold Miller is a relative new name. Going fourth, Jay Thomas. Going fifth is Cecil Gordon. That's because of these pit stops, as the leaders all came in here and began to change wedge, change the handling characteristic, as we have an entire new playing field for these competitors as we move along through the race. Before, there was a lot of tire wear in the track, and you had to handle the car one way when you shove it in there and twist it forward at 160 miles an hour. Now, that's all gone, completely different kind of course, which means geometric settings change. And to be a good crew chief is to be the same as a very good violinist, because the settings on these cars are absolutely infinite. You can go forever looking for different ways to make a race car go through a turn. And if anybody ever found out the proper way to do it, you could also control the weather, and you could control the economic laws and everything else. Just can't do it. It's an amazing story about how they try to find out how to make a car go in there 1/100th quicker than it did the last lap.
It was interesting to note, too, Ken, that all of the front runners, AJ and Richard and Buddy Baker was in, they changed all 4 tires on 2 different stops and took on fuel, so they all have fresh rubber, full tanks, and they're ready to go.
Lynn Kukler.
While the front stretch is very dry and going into number 1 is very dry, Ken, we have a considerable amount of moisture coming out of turn 2 and down part of the back stretch and going into turn 3. So at the present time, while the front stretch is practically completely dry, it does not reflect the overall condition of the track.
So there's the word from NASCAR, from Lynn Kukler, and there's going to be presumably some more laps under caution before they're cut loose.
Yes, I would say we're probably good for another probably 15 laps.
Another 15 laps under caution before they'll cut them loose because of a situation in turn 2 and down the backstretch, which could be hazardous for these campaigners. So they're continuing to dry out the track, and we're watching more of the competitors come onto pit road. Here comes the Pacer pace car. Number 05, David Sisko, is shown in front. Now Jabe Thomas has a chance of running up in front. Jabe's running a lap down. He's on a lap and 1 car position down as they come by. The heavy hitters move in now. Here's Pearson. Here's Allison. There's the Dygert car. Here's Cale Yarborough coming by. And they are sprinkled all through the field. Really, on the end of most things is car number 15, Baker, after these latest pit stops. But with 15 laps more to do adjusting on these machines, we'll see a lot more cars on pit road, as we are now watching Henley Gray in the 2-tone blue and silver. Number 19 come on pit road. Here's the number 33 car dancing onto the pits for another time, Dick May. And here comes a 70-lap rundown for 140 miles. 05 is your leader. That's David Sisko's car, with then Cecil Gordon second, Dean Dalton third, Richard Childress fourth, Walter Ballard fifth, James Hilton sixth, Richard Petty seventh, J.D. McDuffie eighth. Ninth was car number 65, Carl Adams. 10th was the number 16, which is the Bobby Allison car. 11th was Bruce Hill. 12th was Darrell Waltrip. 13th was Pearson. 14th was the 98 car. And 15th was number 11. The 11 car of Cale Yarborough. The 98 running 14th is the Richie Panch machine. This is actually the Johnny Ray car. Johnny Ray's automobile out of Alabama being driven today by Richie Panch, and Panch's numbers are showing on the side of the machine. The average speed through 70 laps, 145 miles, is 85.714. 6 lead changes thus far in the race. Caution flags 3 for 34 laps, and 2 hours, 12 minutes under rain have been the story here today. Johnny Rutherford, former Indianapolis 500-mile champion, Ken Squire, and the Motor Racing Network staff bringing you this broadcast of the Champion Spark Plug 400. Let's go back to Barney Hall at turns 3 and 4 and get a report on how that's coming along.
Well, the turns look real dry, Ken, but like I said, the backstretch is almost flat here at Michigan, and the water pools a little bit there. The track is still extremely damp down the backstretch, but it's drying rather quickly. As far as the turns are concerned, they could go racing in there right now, but of course they will not let them go until that backstretch in turns number 2, coming out of number 2, is dried also. Let's go back to the tower.
Dave Marcus has changed all 4 tires, all of them changing some wedge, and there has been a tire problem for Marcus today. Just a little out of balance or something a couple of times, and that can cost you dear when you're trying to go as hard and fast as he has to go on his K&K Dodge. He's one of the 5 fastest cars here for the running of the Motor State 400. The field is down in turns 1 and 2. Let's check with Dave Despain as to the conditions in the second turn right now.
Still a bit soggy coming off that second turn over there and back onto the backstretch, the area that Barney Hall alluded to where that water has puddled just a little bit. But of course the exhaust headers on the race cars will blow that water off the track and dry it out very quickly with the heat. We're impressed with the crowd, which has filtered back in here and virtually filled this large grandstand and the bleachers all the way down into turn 1. A very enthusiastic body, Ken, as they waited out that 2.5 hours, and now they're back to see the exciting finale to this great race. Back to radio control.
Bruce Hill currently leading the Rookie of the Year campaign, hails from Topeka, Kansas. He was a go-kart racer until deciding to go Grand National. His car is one of Bobby Allison's old Coca-Cola Chevrolets. He's doing extremely well. Starting with this race, his car is sponsored by the Atlanta Raceway, where the Dixie 500 comes up November the 9th at the Atlanta Raceway in Georgia. That Bruce Hill, they always do a lot with rookie drivers down at the Atlanta track, and that's typical of them to give support to freshman drivers trying to find their way in Winston Cup Grand National competition. We're showing 73 of 200 laps now complete. Cisco showing in front, Richard Childress showing in second, Walter Ballard third, James Hilton is now fourth, and Petty is up to fifth as the lead changes every lap by several positions in as much as pit stops are being made by all the leaders, all the cars in the race, trying to find a way to get around this 2-mile speedway just a tad quicker. Field is back in turn number 1. There could be another 10 laps, they say, before they get this one going. Buddy Baker is running extremely well here with his car. As we mentioned earlier, he's won 2 of his last 3 starts for Bud Moore Engineering. He qualified outside of the front row. The qualifying marks were just amazing, the difference between the Baker car and the Pearson car. Pearson qualified at 159.798 miles per hour. Baker qualified at 159.232 miles per hour. And Baker wasn't pleased about the way he qualified.
It ran so much better this morning, and when I went to qualify, the car pushed out in the middle of the corner, and it cost us some valuable time. We'd run over 160 and a half, and not really disappointed because we started outside pole last week and won the race. So I don't think it's where you qualify. Look at Richard Petty 2 weeks ago. Down in Daytona, he started 13th and won the race. So really, it's just a good place to start from, and taking nothing away from whoever gets the pole. It looks like Pearson might be on the pole right now, but the race is a long ways to go, and everything's got to work perfect all day. You just won't win, that's all.
Those were Buddy Baker's thoughts one day ago. Earlier today, he still thought the car was not working as well, as you heard him say on MRN, as it had in its performances when he won both of the Talladega races this year.
Yeah, he made a statement one time that I think only Baker could make. I asked him at some race, I don't remember, it may have been Bristol or somewhere a long time ago, about starting on a pole, and he said, well, if you can stay up there, it's great. He said, you always look a whole lot better coming up through the pack than you do going back through it.
We asked Darrell Waltrip if he was really ready to win this one.
You know, we came here, of course, we're just looking at races right now. We want to run well in races and finish some races, and we brought a car up here that it's my old car. It's a car I won Nashville in. I've run second at Martinsville and Darlington. It's basically a short track car, and we were hoping that the better handling would pay off in the race for us.
10 laps and they will be racing is the latest word. 10 laps and they will cut them loose. That would be at lap 86. Co-hosting the program with us today is Johnny Rutherford, who is indeed a delight, not only to watch as a race driver, but to be alongside. John, how does one who goes out here and stands on it on a Sunday get through a Monday and a Tuesday after one of these things is over and gets back with the family and tries to come down from all of this, the noise, the color, the thousands of people and those screaming engines?
Well, you know, Ken, those of us that race in this league have been at it for some time, and over the years you learn to come down. But of course, after a tragic last week that we had, losing 2 of the top drivers, Tiny Leonard Stock Car Racing, and of course Mark Donahue, it takes a heavy toll, and it weighs heavy on you, and you ponder about the way it was when they were around, and you can't stop the clock, and you can't turn it back. So we've got to go ahead and continue on. I can tell you from this vantage point that I would much rather be out there driving. Not that your company isn't the best, and I have thoroughly enjoyed this, but I think I'm probably a better driver than I am microphone man. I would rather be out there, but and I'm a lousy watcher. I just can't, it scares me to watch these things run.
Does it really sit up there?
Well, to a degree, and Richard and I were talking about it the other day about sitting and watching races. He says Richard Petty. He doesn't says he doesn't like to watch races either, and because I think probably he summed it up, said he's run some of his best races sitting in the pits, watching a guy say, now if he was just a little higher, or if he'd have been down here, he'd have gone faster, or look what he's doing wrong, and you have a tendency to want to critique the race, and really it's a lot more fun being out there running.
But when it's over and the silence finally settles in and those last engines have been cranked down and they've been put back on the truck and they're headed down the road to another race, and you get a chance to be away from it all, what do you do to find something more for your life than standing on it?
Well, it's we're humans. We don't just go crawl into a box and wait, for someone to wind us up for the next one. You have to be on top of this sport. You have to think about it a great deal. You have to work at it very hard. Have to keep up with what's going on and who's doing what. So it's the time off is usually taken up with paying attention to what's going on, thinking about your last race, what went wrong, what you can do to make the next one a little bit better, and on and on and on. That's why football teams practice during the week, I guess, between games, and you keep sharp, and you have to do that in order to be a front runner all the time.
But for diversion, for something that adds another dimension, what can you find?
Okay, well, it varies. Different people do different things. I personally enjoy my family. We try to do as much together as we can. As a lot of people know, my wife works with the crew during the race to keep all of the records, scoring all of the laps and making sure that we know who's doing what. If AJ makes a pit stop, it's recorded and we know how things are going. So we work very closely that way, and then during the off time, she's busy with the children and the normal household duties. I am becoming interested again. I had an airplane about 3 years ago, and I owned it for about 4 years and flew, and really thoroughly enjoy aviation, and I'm going to get back at it now in a sport manner. I'm going back into sport aviation. I have a good friend in Fort Worth, Texas, Charlie Hillard, who is the world aerobatics champion, and I'm going to go out in a little biplane and get some dual time with him and learn to fly aerobatics a little bit better, and this sort of thing. It's just that's the thing we do when we get away. We have so little time that you have to choose what you do with it preciously.
I was talking to a fellow in New York the other day who worked on a film crew and was introduced to aerobatics in the making of a motion picture and was absolutely so caught up in it. Said it was the most spectacular thing he'd ever come across.
It really is. It's fantastic, and to get up there, flying is really very relaxing unless you do a lot of commercial, where you have to fly through weather and you use it for transportation to get from one place to another. But just sport aviation is, and I'm going to go out in a little biplane and get some dual time with him and learn to fly aerobatics a little bit better, and this sort of thing, it's just that's the thing we do when we get away. We have so little time that you have to choose what you do with it preciously.
I was talking to a fellow in New York the other day who worked on a film crew and was introduced to aerobatics in the making of a motion picture and was absolutely so caught up in it. Said it was the most spectacular thing he'd ever come across.
It really is. It's fantastic, and to get up there, flying is really very relaxing unless you do a lot of commercial, where you have to fly through weather and you use it for transportation to get from one place to another. But just sport aviation is fantastic in that you can go up there, you're by yourself, or you have someone with you, and you are the master. You're flying that airplane. You can get up there if you want to do aerobatics. It's not just doing aerobatics. It's precision. You have the way you do it, you want to be satisfied that you're doing it properly, and it is very relaxing.
Same thing as here, where you're kind of going by the seat of your pants at 170 miles per hour, and you are the captain of your ship, and if you don't have it completely in hand, you've got a big handful of trouble?
Well, that's true. I think probably that's why racers like me, I'm not the only one that flies. Bobby Allison has his own airplane. There are many race drivers that fly themselves around the country, have their own airplanes. And I think it's that precision that you have to maintain. You know, driving one of these race cars at those speeds, you have to be right on, and aviation's the same way, or racing boats or anything like that one chooses to do for relaxation or for vocation. And I think it just kind of goes hand in hand.
Former Indianapolis champion Johnny Rutherford with us today. I think a lot of people have a very difficult time with auto racing. They say, well, I drive down the road and I have to drive in heavy traffic and make a lot of decisions, and I can't see really what the difference is. They kind of go round and round in circles out there, and they're all going at the same speed. I don't see what the problems are. I think people have trouble relating.
Well, I agree. I think they really do, and I think probably the best way to relate is if you're whizzing around the loop today at and in a pretty heavy amount of traffic, and you're running 60 miles an hour, almost triple that speed in your mind's eye and say, okay, now let's be doing this at 180 miles an hour or 160 miles an hour, and then you've got it. Now, if you want to go out there, then, friend, you could probably, buy a helmet and get into Grand National stock car racing, because that's what it's all about. And, of course, the championship cars are a little different. A lot of people don't relate to them because they can't comprehend the speeds. We're running around this racetrack at approaching 200 miles an hour, and they just can't comprehend that. Well, the race car was made to do that. A championship car is a thoroughbred racing car. These Grand National cars are thoroughbreds in their own right. Granted, they started life as almost making it as somebody's family flivver, but someone sidetracked it in its early life and proceeded to take it apart, rebuild it, put it all back together as a racing car, and they're finely honed machines. And when they run around this racetrack at 160 miles an hour, it's because they're very capable. And I think the average individual, if he wanted to take a race car around a racetrack, would most certainly be surprised at how fast he could go himself, just because the race car is capable of doing it.
For maybe half a lap.
Well, hopefully they would be able to make it all the way around and come back in the pits and thank them, maybe.
5 laps away from the resumption of the Motor State 400. 82 laps have now been completed. David Sisko is in front, Richard Childress second, Walter Ballard third, Richard Petty fourth, and Bobby Allison fifth. 24 cars remain in the lead lap. 7 more cars remain 1 lap down. 1 more car, 2 laps down, and there's your field. 32 automobiles still in competition. A report on pit road from Kenny Kempler.
We were just down in the pit area of Dean Dalton, and they had to change a spark plug wire. A number of these cars are using this period of caution running here to correct the minor problems that they had. J.D. McDuffie is adding oil. We just talked to Glenn Wood, and we can look forward to these cars, especially the car 21, ducking back into the pit area once more before we get a green flag to top off with fuel and be ready to go. Now back to the tower.
So that's the story. The 21 car will be back in, and I don't think we're being too presumptuous in figuring that they'll probably bring Petty back in and 4 or 5 of those other leaders to make sure they can go as long as they possibly can when this race gets back underway. Must work on your mind a little, Johnny Rutherford, to realize that all you were geared up for, you have to get re-geared for, and it's a different racetrack.
Yes, it is, and it's you go back out there, you are still, right now they're still facing X the unknown. Foyt was concerned earlier. His car was slowing down because the track was getting oily. Now all the oil and the rubber that was in the track is gone. What's it going to be like? They've made changes. They put 4 new tires on. They've got a load of fuel. You still are wondering, whenever you whistle off into turn 1 there, what's it going to be like? Is it going to push? Is it going to be loose? Is it going to be just right? And are you going to fly? And of course, these things happen in milliseconds. And when you know, then you start with another plan. You inaugurate a new plan and you go from there.
Well, I've always felt that was the challenge for the Earth astronauts who run these race cars, that unknown, going down into turn number 1, just how deep, how far you could send a racing car. And that's a sensation that is a very special one that makes this sport totally unique, that grabbing for something that perhaps the astronauts with a multi-million-dollar program can attain as they head off of the moon. But if you've got to be a frontiersman, it's pretty hard to find a better place than going down in here at 170 miles per hour and trying to stitch your constitution together strong enough to keep your foot on the board and stay out there in front of these other guys who like to intimidate by just kind of tingling the rear bumper once in a while to let you know they're there.
Right. Yeah, that's part of the game. And you were speaking of the astronauts. It's surprising how many of them are great fans of motor racing, and Pete Conrad and a few of the other guys actually have driven in competition and still do and look forward to it.
A very common alliance.
Yes, I think so. And there again is the aviation aspect. Anything Soldiers of Fortune, where you all get together, whatever. It's amazing how it parallels.
John Boguest Rutherford with us today here as we get ready to go once again with 83 laps complete. 100 laps will be the halfway indicator, and the board shows, 3? Bob Lapford, they'll cut them loose in 3 laps, and they'll send them down.
Here's Baker on pit road, and Dick Brooks are coming in early to get some fuel.
Richard Brooks, Truxmore Industries car. I can't believe it. I'm seeing him here racing today. I watched him 30 feet upside down, spinning, crashing 14 times, side over side, end over end, 13 times last week, 1,000 feet. Car so totally destroyed you didn't even know what number it was. Here he is back ready to go, and you heard him talking about it earlier.
And pit road appears to be still quite slick, Ken. I was just watching them come in making their stops, and they were sliding the front tires. You could read the Goodyear as they were coming in trying to get stopped in their pits. So that will be interesting to watch as the race progresses with 2 laps now to go to a start. If anyone has to make a pit stop, it would be better watching.
Here's number 41, Grant Adcox, getting prepared to get back into it today. Remind you again as we prepare for this one to resume that the Southern 500 is September 1st. Back to Darlington, South Carolina. Back to the home where it all began. First time they ran with Johnny Vance years and years ago was there, and it happens again on September 1, September 7th, Richmond, Virginia, the capital city 500, and the day before, the Baby Grands will get a chance to run at Richmond for Ken Campbell's fine facility. Then on September 14th, the Delaware 500 in Dover, Delaware, September 21st. The Wilkes 400, North Wilkesboro, North Carolina, September 28th. The Old Dominion 500, Martinsville, Virginia, biggest purse ever paid on what they call a short track. But if you've ever seen it, you know it is one of the finest tracks that this country has ever built. And at Old Dominion 500, Martinsville, Virginia weekend, you'll see all the superstars racing for nearly $75,000 on a half-mile track. Foyt is in, Pearson is in, Richard Childress, Cale Yarborough. We could get some battered fenders. There could be some even more than cosmetic damage because you really thunder down pit road. It's interesting where these pit crews elect. The fastest qualifier gets to pick first, second fastest second on pit road. And it's interesting to know where they will pick. Now, you have to come in at a certain speed, but there's nothing about how you exit the track, and I think they really want to stand on it coming out on most of these tracks.
Yes, they do, and it's. I was just watching AJ go back out on the racetrack, and he could see Cale Yarborough coming up behind him and wanted to try to at least stay ahead of him because Cale is running very well and could be a problem if he wanted to move on to the front to try to catch up with Richard, who is still setting up there in a pretty good spot, and he was breaking loose and fishtailing quite badly. Like I said earlier, the pit road is still very wet down in the area, has a lot of puddles, and it's going to bear watching.
But the track is dry.
Yes.
Track is dry and fast, ready for resumption of this race, with now 85 laps being shown on the board with 24 cars in the lead lap. That's just an amazing number. Here they come back off, and here comes Petty in. Here comes Allison. Let's go back to Kenny Campbell in the pits.
Your remarks about the pit road being wet and the track being dry are certainly correct. We see 2 different entire colors here from our position in the pits, and if any of them do have to come in under speed here into the pit area, we may run into a problem. there are no dry spots, and they spill oil on during the pit stops, so we may have some problem here a little later, but we certainly hope not. We hope we'll go into a continuous fast race. Now back to the tower.
Well, one thing about it, all these pit stops under caution are doing their own job of drying out that part of the speedway. The Earl Canavan car is being rolled back toward the garage area. Toot Finney for Earl Canavan from Old Fort or Fort Johnson, New York. And now we're just about set for a green flag once again here this afternoon. John Bruno Jr. has it in hand. J.D. McDuffie is pitted. Walter Ballard out. And we're getting set to go once again. Pace car down the backstretch, drawing away. The new leader with these pit stops is number 47, Bruce Hill, the rookie from Topeka, Kansas. In second is number 88, Darrell Waltrip of Franklin, Tennessee. Third is Richie Patch's car, number 98 from Daytona Beach, Florida. Fourth is car number 63, Terry Bivens of Shawnee, Kansas. Running fifth is Almo Langley. So again, it's 47 first. And the field begins to tighten up on the backstretch to get this one going. They're working the 87th lap right now. 47 is the leader. That's Bruce Hill. 88, Darrell Waltrip is in second. They're coming back up to speed. And ladies and gentlemen, we're just about to go back to green with Barney Hall at turn 4.
Bruce Hill looks down through the corner and sees the green flag waving as he comes out of the turn. Dropping down to the bottom of the speedway to move around is Darrell Waltrip, who will go back into the lead. Waltrip swings around Hill at the start-finish line.
There's Darrell Waltrip in front. Dave Marcus is trying to gather back a lap. He goes under Bruce Hill. And now Darrell Waltrip is being challenged by car number 71. Picking up a lap is Dave Marcus. Marcus is trying to gain back a lap. He is down a lap, and he is now making that up as he scoots out of turn number 2.
As they come off turn 2 and down the backstretch, Marcus leads the pack. Meanwhile, all those early leaders are trying to come through traffic like sand through a sieve. David Pearson definitely on the move. Buddy Baker is right in his draft. Richard Petty is trying to get back up front as the leaders go down into turn 3.
Waltrip out of the lead in the Dygard Chevrolet. Marcus has put himself back in the same lap. I think he was just one lap down as they come out of the corner. Marcus trying to keep himself out front. Meanwhile, back in the pack, they jockey for position. There's heavy traffic back in there between David Pearson, Buddy Baker, Cale Yarborough, and Richard Petty as they work their way back to the front.
Car number 47, Bruce Hill is challenging for the lead. Bruce Hill, the rookie from Topeka, Kansas, goes in the bottom of the racetrack, and Darrell Waltrip fights him off in turn 1.
Waltrip comes down off the top of the racetrack and slams the door on Hill. A nice maneuver on his part, and Hill tucks in behind him. Now drifts high as they come off a 2 and looks for the outside line. It's not there either, and the Terminal Transport car has a 3-car length advantage as they go down the backstretch, chasing the back end of the K&K Dodge of Dave Marcus.
Back in the pack, there's a lot of things going on. Namely, one, A.J. Ford has blasted his way around about 8 or 9 cars, comes up through the field, and Ford is trying to work his way back up on the leaders. David Pearson is riding right behind Dick Brooks out of the corner. It is still Waltrip in the lead. Bruce Hill is riding second. Dick Brooks would be third. Pearson is fourth.
Richie Patch falling to 5th. Coming up to 6th is Buddy Baker. To 7th, Cale Yarborough. 8th. Patch falling all the way back to 8th now. He dropped 2 positions, and here comes number 28, A.J. Foyt.
Foyt comes knifing through traffic, and the Richard Petty car well back at the tail end of that draft has Bobby Allison right behind him. Meanwhile, we begin to get a challenge as Buddy Baker and David Pearson storm away from the traffic and link up in a draft that's going to bring them right up on the tail end of the leaders.
They chase the leaders down the backstretch. It's still Waltrip out front. Bruce Hill is second, but gaining ground. Closing to 5 car lengths now is Buddy Baker. Hill drops to the inside. He gives way. Baker moves to the outside, and Baker is about to go into the number 2 position. Pearson is back in third. Cale Yarborough is fourth, and Ford is riding fifth. And all of a sudden, there are 5 cars linked together in a tight draft out of the corner. Baker squeezes right down in the middle of 2 cars.
Here comes Baker going for the lead. Baker going into turn number 1. Squeezes through by Bruce Hill. He drops. Bruce Hill picking up 5 points for leading toward that $10,000 Carling prize for Rookie of the Year. Finds himself now back to 7th position.
Boy, did Buddy Baker bring the troops with him. David Pearson and A.J. Foyt, Cale Yarborough all tucked on the end of that draft, and Baker slingshotting them all right around Bruce Hill. Hill falls all the way back to 7th spot. Right now the leader as they head for turn 3 is Buddy Baker.
6-car draft a moment ago has suddenly become a 4-car draft as they jockey for the lead. It is Baker out front. Here comes Pearson on the outside, making a charge. Foyt down on the inside. Back for that 2nd position is Cale Yarborough. Rides shotgun on that foursome out of the corner. It is still Baker.
Running into 5th position is Brooks, and now here comes number 11, Cale Yarborough to the bottom. They're 3 deep as they go into turn number 1, and Cale Yarborough is challenging for the lead as he goes to the bottom of the track.
As Buddy Baker takes the high road, it's 3 abreast behind him, and Yarborough cannot get it done. He has to settle for 4th spot and get back in line, but in the exchange, A.J. Foyt moves up to 2nd spot. The Silver Fox, David Pearson, falls into 3rd place, and now Yarborough tacks right on the back end of that draft as Buddy Baker leads him down.
Foyt trying to chase down Buddy Baker. He has led most of this race while it has been under green. Foyt closes 2 car lengths. He chops it to 1 as they move into turn number 3. Pearson just a car length back in 3rd spot. Cale Yarborough rides in that foursome. In the number 4 corner, it is still Baker, Foyt, Pearson, and Yarborough.
A half second back in 5th is Richard Brooks. Here comes A.J. Foyt in the lead. Foyt taking the lead, drags Pearson to 2nd. Now, Darrell Waltrip goes to 5th. Going into the 6th position is Richard Brooks, and in 7th is Richard Petty in turn 1.
You can go from 1st to 4th in a wink of an eye. Buddy Baker fell back to 3rd spot that time as Foyt took Pearson with it. Yarborough tried to go along for the ride, couldn't get by. So now as they go down the chute, it's A.J. Foyt, David Pearson, Buddy Baker, and Cale Yarborough in the lead draft.
Here comes another factor, the STP Dodge. Petty has knocked off 6 cars, working his way to the front. He's just about to move around Dick Brooks' car as they go into turn 3 to catch that front foursome. Richard Petty begins to move. He has chopped it down to about 2 seconds back of the leaders. Still, it is Foyt out front. Pearson 2nd, Baker 3rd, Cale Yarborough 4th, Richard Petty in 5th.
They squeeze right to the wall as Richard Petty moves into the 5th position. 6th is now Brooks. 7th is Waltrip. On the 8th position, we see car number 16, Bobby Allison, holding on to the 8th spot in turn 1.
As they move through turn 1, the lead foursome have dropped into single file and try to draft and possibly break away from that second pack that is now developed, led by Richard Petty, followed by Dick Brooks and Bobby Allison. They are in a 3-car link-up as they go down the back chute.
Petty was in closing some time, while the leaders now seems to be just about stabilized at maybe a 2-second interval between the front 4 back there. It is still A.J. Foyt, David Pearson, Buddy Baker, and Cale Yarborough. Just about a car length separate those 4 as they come out of turn number 4, move down to the start-finish line.
Coming by to complete the 94th of 200 laps, it is number 28, A.J. Foyt, by less than 6 inches in front of David Pearson in the 21 car. They go into the first turn with Pearson still holding 2nd, Baker 3rd, Cale Yarborough 4th.
As the greatest driver in USAC history stuffs that Chevrolet down into turn 1, David Pearson moves up behind, gives him a little tap on the rear deck and says, "This is how we do it down in NASCAR country." A.J. Foyt leading David Pearson down the back chute. Buddy Baker is right on his tail. Cale Yarborough is there, and Richard Petty leads a 3-car draft in 5th place.
As Forson moves into the number 4 corner, a car that suddenly develops some trouble. He's been running strong all afternoon. Richard Childress on pit road. Some smoke from Childress' car down the backstretch. He has now put it in the pits. Your front 4 out of the number 4 corner. Still Foyt, Pearson, Baker, and Yarborough.
A yellow flag is on the speedway. What a break for Marcus. They were overhauling Marcus. They were moving up on him rapidly, but now there's a caution flag out, and that will put Marcus right around on the end of the lap. He has made up the lap with his caution. 5th one of the day is the biggest break of the afternoon for Dave Marcus. That choo-choo train of 4 automobiles was about to overhaul Dave Marcus within a lap. But now, when he was running by himself, he pulled out in front of 2 automobiles. That was the Darrell Waltrip car, and the Bruce Hill car was able to lead by as much as 5 or 6 seconds. Then the front 4 all gathered up their power and running in tandem were hauling him down, about to bring him to count when the caution flag came out on the speedway, and that will mean car number 71. Dave Marcus, as the safety car comes out to pick up the leaders, will circulate around the track and nose right in against these front automobiles when this race is again under green.
Here's Bobby Allison on pit road.
Allison brings in the Matador at the champion Sparkplug 400. Richard Childress has had a fan go through the radiator. Childress, a fan through the radiator. And there is debris in turn number 3, hence the caution flag, and a chance for Marcus to make up that lap and fall in the back of the field. The front of the field is now pitting. Not all of them, but Pearson is in, Waltrip is in, Bruce Hill, Cecil Gordon, Dean Dalton, who's had some ignition problems of recent in that car number 7, he's on pit road. The story here is that a caution flag for car number 96 as a fan went back into the radiator and spilled pieces all over the track in turn number 3 has brought out the 5th caution of the day. With that caution, Dave Marcus is the opportunity he was looking for to make up that lap he was down and now fall in behind the leaders and go for big game. 90 laps, 180 miles down.
Interesting bit of strategy maybe on Petty's part. Richard just made a pit stop, took on tires and fuel. He will now be able to take the lead when the others come in, possibly, and could put him in a very advantageous position.
Here comes A.J. Foyt, leading 110 laps of the champion Sparkplug 400. The Gilmore Broadcasting car has a 3-car length advantage over Bobby Allison running in second. Then it's 2 7/10 seconds back to the third position, which houses car number 21, Pearson. He's won it the last 2 times. Can he pull it out today? Pearson in car number 21, holding that third spot. Right behind him comes Timminsville, South Carolina's Cale Yarborough in the Junior Johnson Holly Farms Valvoline Chevrolet. Then fifth is Richard Petty. A big interval between Petty back to the 6th place car, Darrell Waltrip. That interval is now over 6.5 seconds between the 5th place automobile and the 6th place car. The 5th place car being Petty, the 6th place car being Darrell Waltrip, who is now being challenged. Here goes Richard Brooks on the bottom of the racetrack. Richard Brooks moves up another spot. Brooks goes by Darrell Waltrip, and he is now the 6th position runner on the field in the Truxmore Industries car. The interval between the 2nd place car, Allison, and the 3rd place automobile, which is now number 21, Pearson, shrinks to 2 3/10 seconds. The 2-car draft in front, Foyt leading, Allison second, then 2 3/10 seconds back, rumbling down the backstretch, the maroon, white, gold numeral number 21 of the Wood Brothers from Patrick County, Virginia. And tailing him is car number 11, Cale Yarborough, with Richard Petty in 5th. Here they are out of turn 4. They're going to have to work some of the slower cars, and that is one reason that Pearson and Cale and Richard Petty are about to make up some distance. But now they're trapped back in traffic as A.J. and Bobby Allison move to turn 1. They're going to lose a little more ground on them, Ken Squire. They lap D.K. Ulrich, the California driver, going into the first turn.
They hit the first turn. The lap cars move low on the racetrack, and this will allow Pearson, Yarborough, and Petty to come thundering around in the high groove and once again set sail in pursuit of that lead 2-car draft. The question is, can the 3-car draft run faster than the pair up front, A.J. Foyt and Bobby Allison, the leaders?
There's one heck of a battle still going on back in the pack between Darrell Waltrip and Dick Brooks. There's just a little bit of resentment between these two drivers, if you want to use that word. And right now they've been doorpost to doorpost for the last lap and a half, and they're exactly a dead heat as they move down the backstretch. Neither driver wanting to link up in a draft, which is costing both some distance behind the leaders. Meanwhile, it is still Foyt and Allison out front. Foyt and Allison lead going into 113. It's still 2 3/10 seconds. Frank Warren on the bottom of the racetrack as Richard Brooks darts in front of car number 88, Darrell Waltrip. That 6th place battle is a beauty. Here is Richard Brooks in front of Darrell Waltrip as the young Lions continue to battle it among themselves, and Richie Pants right in there with them. Down they come with 113 laps down, working the 114th, and on the backstretch, the Mercury of David Pearson, the Chevrolet of Cale Yarborough, the Dodge of Richard Petty, running in tandem, trying to overhaul the leader, the Chevrolet of A.J. Foyt, and the Matador, Bobby Allison. They're in lap cars in turn 4. They're having to work their way around slower traffic again. This time to the outside comes Foyt, and here comes Cale Yarborough around David Pearson, and Cale's going to try and make up some distance on him. He gets inside Pearson as they move down to the turn. Cale Yarborough in that yellow, mustard yellow and red pipe fire suit that he wears, looking like a demon as he screams into turn number 3, and Pearson comes back on the outside to fight him in the 21.
Not demonic enough to pull it out was Cale Yarborough, because Pearson comes back to the outside, aided by the Richard Petty draft. They're going to put Yarborough right back in 3rd spot as they come off the 2nd turn. Pearson and Petty pull away, and Yarborough falls back to 5th place, 3rd in that draft. Leaders move up in the number 3 corner, and one car slowing down to the backstretch, Frank Warren. Harrisburg, North Carolina, the car number 79 will be heading for the pits. Warren off the paces, down on the apron. Leaders out of the corner. Furious battle back to 3rd spot between Pearson, Richard Petty, and Cale Yarborough. And now Petty moves in behind David Pearson. There's another battle further back, and that is Buddy Baker and Dave Marcus about to link up in a draft, and that could have some repercussions on this event. Cars number 71 and 15. Look at this battle between, again, Dick Brooks and Darrell Waltrip. They've been door to door. Brooks just barely nosed him out of the start-finish line, and these two have really declared war on each other. 90 and 88.
That's Richard Brooks of the Truxmore Industry, number 90, and the Native Tan car, number 88, running all around the speedway, side by side, fighting for 6th position. Up in front, it's still Floyd in front. The question is now, will there be a caution as Frank Warren, his car just barely trickling onto pit road, limping in, trying to just keep it running in some way to get him safely onto pit road and not bring out another caution. 79, Frank Warren is on pit road. Here comes that battle between Richard Brooks and Darrell Waltrip. What a thundering fight this one is for 6th position. Coming by, it's car number 90, then 88 goes down to the inside. Darrell Waltrip is right there beside Richard Brooks in turn 1 for 6.
They swapped a little paint right there. Waltrip came to the inside. Brooks moved over, tried to chop him off, and they got together just momentarily. No problem for either driver as they move up into turn 2. It's Brooks on the outside with Waltrip on the inside, and they are literally side by side at dead heat as they go drag racing down the back chute.
3 seconds from first back to third.
Oh, smoke in Foyt's car. Can't fly right in front of you. A puff of smoke from A.J. Foyt. He's off the pace.
Foyt is slowing down. Bobby Allison takes the lead. Allison goes in front. A.J. Foyt erupting an engine on car number 28. He's down at the bottom of the speedway in the first turn.
The car can is coasting down onto the apron. He appears to have a certain amount of power yet. There was very little smoke. It came out right at the start-finish line. He either got it shut off or whatever as he coasted down through 1 and 2. But he's in bad shape as the leaders go thundering on down into turn 3.
47, Bruce Hill is being passed by Dave Marcus and Buddy Baker. 47, Bruce Hill running 11th is now being passed by cars numbers 71, Dave Marcus, and 15, Baker. And that 2-car draft is really moving back into it now. They're a half lap down running in 10th. The leader by himself is Allison. He immediately is slowed down, and the interval from first to second, with second place now being number 21, David Pearson, is dwindling. That lead for Allison evaporating in turn number 1. Continuing to chew away at that lead is the 21 car. Then comes Richard Petty in second, or rather in third and in fourth, with a lead of only 1 and 6/10 seconds. Allison in front of the 3-car draft going to turn 3. Yarborough is fourth. On pit road, here's A.J. Foyt, number 28. Foyt, who really gave this car a ride as the Gilmore Broadcasting red, white numeral number 28 going back to the garage area. Foyt is out of it. A.J. Foyt coasting into the pit area. An engine going sour on that Chevrolet puts him behind the wall, and it gives the lead to car number 16. Appropriating first position is Bobby Allison. But a 3-car choo-choo train is chasing him rapidly now out of turn number 2.
As they come off turn 2, Justin Dick and Yarborough elects to duck out of the draft and try to go to the inside on Pearson and Petty. He can't get by. Now he gets back in line, and that assures that the draft will continue to zoom in on the Bobby Allison car number 16.
Yarborough comes charging down on the inside of Richard Petty, trying to move up on David Pearson as they move into the number 3 corner. Yarborough still on the bottom of the speedway. They have chopped the separation on Bobby Allison's car to about 6 car lengths. Out of the corner is Pearson second, and a battle back for the 3rd spot between Cale Yarborough and Richard Petty.
Leaders go flying down into that first turn area, and what a race this is going to be for the lead. That battle for the top spot is going to be a 4-car shootout here with 120 of the 200 laps complete. That lead position belongs to car number 16, but there is no interval. It's less than half a second now as David Pearson pulls up on the Matador. Here comes Pearson in the Mercury. Pearson riding up on car number 16, Allison at turn 3. Yarborough comes to the inside.
2 car lengths separate first and second, but Cale Yarborough coming on strong. He's around Richard Petty. He's up alongside David Pearson, and Yarborough just barely squeezed in between Richard Petty and David Pearson. He almost tagged Pearson. Here's Pearson to the inside on Allison.
David Pearson goes for first place in turn 1 and lap 121.
As they hit the first turn, Pearson to the inside, and he's got it. Allison moves the Matador back down onto the rear deck and chops off Cale Yarborough's assault on second spot, so it's Pearson, Allison, Yarborough, and Petty as they come off the second turn and head down the back chute. And Pearson tries to open up a little separation. He's got about 1 car length on Bobby Allison.
A new ball game up front. The Pure Later Mercury goes up in first position. The Matador is in second. Allison comes storming back on Pearson in the number 3 corner. But Cale Yarborough wants that lead. He's knocking on the door for second position. He's inside Bobby Allison. And Yarborough very strong down in that low groove. Comes out of the corner. Up alongside for a moment. And he just gets the door shut on him as he comes out of the 4th corner. Settles for 3rd position.
A 4-car battle for the lead. what we're going to have is a four-car battle for fifth position momentarily. The fifth position is about to be contested as hard as the lead position. It's Pearson in front in 21. 16 is running in second, Allison in the Matador. Then comes the Chevrolet of Cale Yarborough and fourth, Petty. Those four together. Now Cale challenges for second position out of turn 4. Yarborough moves down the inside. Meanwhile, the battle for the fifth position as car number 90, Richard Brooks leading Darrell Waltrip by 1 car length, but storming up on them on the backstretch is car number 71 and 15. They are rapidly gaining ground on 90 and 88. That fight for the fifth position as dramatic as the one for the lead. The leadership battle is entangled in lap traffic on the backstretch. They whiz by Elmo Langley as they go down into turn number 3 with Jade Thomas's car also being overlapped. It's Cale Yarborough in the lead now. Whether David Pearson will lead, Cale Yarborough on the inside, number 11, is up there beside Allison. They're wheel-to-wheel for second place. Grant Edcox is in for right side rubber. Back in the main straightaway. Pearson still first, Allison still second, Yarborough still third, and Petty plays a waiting game behind that trio, just standing back and forth by 4 car lengths. Let's go back and take a look at the fifth position, and that one is side by side. It's Richard Brooks in number 90, back into fifth. Into 6 is Darrell Waltrip. Now on the inside, 71 moves in. Here comes that battle for the fifth position to Barney Hall.
Ken, that's where experience pays off, because Dick Brooks and Darrell Waltrip got involved in a little battle between themselves, and without drafting, you're going to lose a lot of time, and that is exactly why Dave Marcus and Buddy Baker, who linked up in a draft and rode it that way, have caught them. They're down to the number 1 corner, and it's a furious battle for the fifth position.
Cale Yarborough's in trouble. He slides in turn 3. Yarborough sliding in 3 cars wide coming down the straightaway. Petty on the inside, Yarborough in the middle. Up on the outside is Allison. Cale Yarborough broke loose momentarily. He was sideways. He pinched Allison right to the wall. He was able to gather it up and continue on. A scary moment. It looked like 2 of the leaders were going to crash in turn 4. They go back into turn 2 in the 131st lap.
As they come off turn 2, they sort themselves back out and remain in the initial running order of Pearson, Allison, Yarborough, and Petty, although there were cars going every which way as they came into turn 1 as everybody tried to gather it back up again after that scary moment.
The leaders will pit in 13 laps. The battle for fifth is just amazing. Buddy Baker is going for fifth position. He's dragging Dave Marcus with him. 4 cars battling for fifth, inches apart. Meanwhile, the battle for the lead. Pearson first, Allison second, Cale Yarborough third, Richard Petty fourth. That fifth place battle, a half a lap down, is just a stunner. In that fifth position, it's the 88 car. Darrell Waltrip challenged by number 15, Buddy Baker. Baker on the inside is going to fifth position. Baker fighting his way back through traffic. On the bottom, here comes Dave Marcus. Marcus is underneath. Richard Brooks is 90. He's moving underneath car number 88, Darrell Waltrip. Here comes Dave Marcus as they fight for the 6th position. Back into the main straightaway. Side by side, 71 goes into 6. What a great scrap that one is. Back in front, Barney Hall.
Cale Yarborough has just moved into the number 2 position as he made a move on Allison in the number 3 corner, and Cale has his sights set on David Pearson. Allison locks in the bumper on 3rd spot. Petty is still 4th.
It's just magnificent racing. It is the most competitive automobile racing in the world. There is nothing like it. In 12 laps, the leaders will be pitting. In 12 laps, we're at the 132nd lap. And right now, into turn number 3 goes that battle for the 5th spot with Baker, Marcus, Brooks, and Waltrip running nose to tail. Meanwhile, the battle for the lead has David Pearson first, in second, Cale Yarborough's number 11, and car number 16, Bobby Allison, with Richard Petty in 4th. It is a sensational race here. Held up 2 hours and 12 minutes because of rain. Held up about 20 minutes after a terrible crash by Cuckoo Marlin. Ruptured the fence in the second turn and caused delay. It's coming down to be one of the greatest races of the year. There goes David Pearson into the first turn, about to overlap another car.
As the lap car moves down, David Pearson moves up high, and Cale Yarborough continues to be the fly in the ointment among those lead draft. He continues to try every line around the racetrack. Almost got himself in trouble a couple of laps back, but he's still very, very active. Not content to run single file, but wanting to figure out every place on the racetrack where he can run in case it comes down to a last lap shootout.
While all that's going on up front, Dave Marcus has just picked off the number 5 position. He made a move on Buddy Baker, dropping Baker back to 6th, Waltrip to 7th, and here's Dick Brooks on pit road.
Car number 90. Brooks is one of the first of the leaders to pit. Richard Brooks pitting car number 90, running up there in the 7th position when he elected to come in. He drops a lap down. Number 21, 11, crossing the line with now number 16 and 43 over the stripe. The pit stops will begin to take a very important part. The hood is up on Richard Brooks' car number 90. Hood is up on Richard Brooks Truxmore Industries car number 90. Meanwhile, J.D. McDuffie with a plume of smoke spilling out of the headers on car number 70. He comes in. The Glen Landscaping car is on pit road. A bad day for McDuffie now. The 130-lap rundown for 260 miles had Cale then leading with Allison second, with Pearson leading, Allison second, Cale Yarborough third, Richard Petty fourth. Then in fifth was car number 88. Darrell Waltrip. In 6th was Richard Brooks. In 7th was Buddy Baker. In 8th was Marcus. In 9th was Cisco. And in 10th was Richie Patch, all running the same lap with more than 2/3 of the race by. In 11th spot was the 63 car, and this Terry Bivens of Shawnee, Kansas in the Moyer Chevrolet is doing a magnificent job. In 12th, number 7, Dean Dalton. They continue to work on Richard Brooks, number 90. Frantic work on that automobile. Jumping back and forth over the wall, the 5 men of that crew trying to get the Porterville, California former Grand National Rookie of the Year back in the race.
Ken, they are replacing a belt on that car. He was pointing to the hood when he came in, and they are replacing a belt on it. Back to you.
Dave Marcus moves up beside Buddy Baker as they fight for 5th. It's Marcus and Baker side by side for 5th position, with right behind them car number 88 running in 7th, Darrell Waltrip. The leaders are out of turn 4. Pearson is first, Cale Yarborough second, Bobby Allison third, Richard Petty fourth at the first turn.
They've got traffic in front of them, lap traffic, which allows them again to pick up that draft. And again, Cale Yarborough tests out a lower line on the racetrack. David Pearson leads them around. Bobby Allison has moved the Matador right up on the rear deck of Cale Yarborough's car, while Richard Petty waits 2 car lengths back.
Ken, there's so many battles going on around the Speedway. The race fans will look first at Buddy Baker and Dave Marcus and Darrell Waltrip in that battle for 5th spot, and then they'll check down to the other end of the Speedway to watch David Pearson, Cale Yarborough, Bobby Allison, and Richard Petty get it on. It's been that way for the last 40 laps. Now they come out of turn 4. It's still Pearson, Yarborough, and Allison running 1, 2, and 3.
These fans who set through an old-fashioned monsoon are being treated to one of the greatest races perhaps in Winston Cup Grand National history. Pearson in front, right on his rear bumper. Yarborough's Chevrolet in second. Then the Matador runs third, and Petty stays 5 car lengths back from that trio, just sitting there in fourth, waiting out the laps. 137 of 200 complete. The battle for 5th position stays a stormy one, as side by side they battle in the backstretch and into turn 3.
Marcus just keeping the pressure on Buddy Baker. He had been up there in 5th spot a moment ago. Baker gets it back out of the corner, and Marcus just pushes him out of the turn. And Darrell Waltrip falls about 3 car lengths back, and look at that. He's pushing him down the straightaway.
Baker in 5th, Marcus in 6th, Waltrip in the 7th position. From Michigan International Speedway, this is the Motor Racing Network. A.J. Foyt, who has led a lot of magnificent laps, has fallen out of the race. Let's go down to Kenny Campbell. And here comes 96. Richard Childress is coming back in the race. Richard Childress, who put a fan through the radiator, has replaced it. And this game youngster from Winston-Salem, North Carolina, comes back out here to fight it out at the finish. Here's Childress back on the track. One thing about this Grand National competition, they give it everything they've got, and his young chief mechanic, 17-year-old Tim Carver, has finished the work, and here comes Childress back on the track at the present time. Number 90, Richard Brooks, after 4 laps at least on pit road, is also back out there, and very shortly the leader should be pitting. Ken Campbell, any story on why A.J. Foyt dropped out?
No, but it looked like an engine problem. He came by, there was no oil coming from the car, but it was an engine problem, and he parked it for the day. Back to you.
A sad one. Richard Childress is back out here. He's laps and laps down. He brought on a caution when he put a fan through the radiator up in turn 3, was able to keep the car together when the engine just absolutely buckled on him, did not blow it, and is able to keep going. The battle for 5th is bumper to bumper. 15. Buddy Baker is being shoved across the start-finish line by the 71 car of Dave Marcus, and right behind him comes Darrell Waltrip. The front 4 automobiles come by, and they're beginning to set up for a dramatic finish here today, with 141 laps terminated and 200 on the schedule. It's David Pearson seeking his 4th win in the Champion Sparkplug 400 out in front. Going second, Cale Yarborough, who has not won in this race. Bobby Allison, who was victorious in the second battle held in this track, in this series, and Richard Petty is now in that 4th spot. Petty, who's won 8 Grand National races this year, seeking his 9th win, goes up on the outside as if he wants to pass, but you can feel assured that he will not. He'll just sit there and wait this one out and get ready to make the big move at the big moment right at the finish line. Back into lap traffic come the leaders. They're about to overhaul number 91. That's the car of Harold Miller. As they go down into the first turn, they're also overlapping Henley Gray and Jade Thomas.
Like a 4th-place spacecraft as they line up single file, sticking up on a high racing lane, and David Pearson leads this quartet of wily veterans around this racetrack. If you had to pick experience as a factor, it would be very, very difficult to choose from among those first 4 the guy most likely to do it on the final lap.
Richard Childress is going back behind the wall. He took 1 lap. Something is still not quite proper, and he wants it back in there. So Chief Wrench Tim Carver goes back to work on that one. 05, David Sisko, 9th place car in the race, is in for tires. And very shortly, the leaders should be pitting. The leaders should be coming in within a lap or 2. As they come down out of turn 4, it's Pearson first, Cale Yarborough second. Allison makes a move to go up the inside, then draws back behind Cale Yarborough in the first turn. We can anticipate that in the next lap, one of the lead teams will come over the wall with what could be the key pit stop in this race between 4 top racing crews. David Pearson first, Cale Yarborough second, Allison third, Petty fourth. Here's Allison making a move on the backstretch. The red, white, and blue black numeral number 16 storms down into turn 3.
Allison has really been hammering on Cale Yarborough in the corners, particularly the last 2 or 3 laps. Yarborough get a little bit out of shape coming up in the number 4 corner, and Allison tried to get around the outside a couple of times, and they banged a little sheet metal there. They're out of the turn, still locked in that 4-car draft.
The 11th place car, Terry Bibbins, has now pitted. The front 4 do not come in. The front 4 stay on again. Cale Yarborough is going for the lead at turn 1.
Here comes the challenge from Cale Yarborough. He dives down low. Coming out of line to follow him is Bobby Allison. And Allison is doorpost to doorpost with David Pearson as Yarborough indeed takes the lead away. Those 4 cars shuffle themselves around, and now here comes Petty back to the inside. The leader is Yarborough. Allison is right behind him. And Pearson and Petty are doorpost to doorpost. Richard Petty is going to go for the lead as they go down the chute.
Up the back chute, Richard Petty down to the inside. Had moved around David Pearson, and now Petty begins to fall back into the bottom of the racetrack. Comes Cale Yarborough. Allison goes back into the lead, and I guess we'll be seeing Cale come in. He's off the pace. Yarborough will be the first of the leaders to come in.
Allison almost planks it in the wall on the right side as he goes higher on Cale Yarborough, who is pitting. Cale Yarborough is the first of the leaders to pit. Now the clock will be on Yarborough as he brings his machine down. They're working the 146th lap, just completed 145 in the 145th lap. This is a stop under green, right side rubber on car number 11. Let's go to Kenny Campbell.
We have some excitement here in the pit area. One of the pit crews has either been hurt or has some physical problem. We'll get a report on it and be back to you in just a moment.
Meanwhile, Cale Yarborough is out in 14 and 9/10 seconds. 14 and 9 for Cale Yarborough as he comes back to speed.
Here's Darrell Waltrip off pit road.
Yarborough, number 11. Pits in 14 and 9/10 seconds. Now we'll watch the battle for among the 5th place cars. Number 88 is in. Number 88 is on pit road, and the jack man goes to work on the right side of that automobile. J.C. Elder and the crew, Mario Rossi, putting car number 88 through its paces today.
Down in turn 1, Ken Squire, we've got a new leader as Pearson comes around Allison to take over the top spot. And again, those leaders are all preparing for their pit stops. It's Allison running in the 2nd spot behind Pearson with Petty 3rd.
The battle going on right now.
Here comes Buddy Baker out of the corner, and Baker is heading for the pits.
Here's Baker coming in. In the 145th lap, David Pearson retakes the lead.
Here's Richard Petty also, Ken Squire, coming out pit road.
So here comes a key pit stop. Petty is in the STP Dodge, rolling down pit road. We'll watch for this pit stop now. Richard Petty coming in. The crew is ready. Dale Inman, his cousin, who's been with him for 25 years, comes over the wall. His brother, Maurice Petty, and the Level Cross North Carolina team, Wade Thornberry, is over. The Jackman has the car in the air. Right side tires are being applied to the STP Dodge. Here's Buddy Baker back to full power. Lap 148 is where Baker makes his stop. He's underway beautifully. His stop is one of 17 and 3/10 seconds. We're watching Petty. Beautiful stop on Petty. Richard Petty's time is a 17.5. Here's Allison on pit road. Key stop now for the American Motors Matador. Bobby Allison rolls down. He's pretty well down pit road. He comes in hot, really strong. Gets on the binders. Remember, he is the car running on disc brakes out here, and the only one today. Right side rubber for him, too. Fastest stop thus far has been the 17.5 for Petty. This is under green. They go frantically to work. John Woodward has that crew really steaming down there for Allison. The Matador comes off the blocks. It's back in there. The stop is beautiful. 14 and 9/10 seconds. Allison in 14.9 in lap 148. That's some stop, Barney Hall. That's about as quick as you can get it done. Here's Pearson out of the corner. David looked like he wanted to come in, and there was a car ducking down pit road, and Pearson does not come down. The Wood boys are ready, but David is getting the pit board now to come in the next lap around. So as the race stands, car number 21, David Pearson's Purolator Mercury, continues to lead. Second place is appropriated by car number 71, Marcus. Marcus should be pitting at any moment. David Pearson is ready to come in. Okay, this is the key stop. The Wood brothers from Stewart, Virginia, line the wall in those beautiful red, white, and blue uniforms. And that gold numeraled automobile is about to pull down. This is the one that could decide it all for $100,000 this afternoon. Delano Wood, one of the elder of the Wood brothers, stands there holding the board. Glenn Wood standing just back behind the wall now. Here's Pearson out of the corner. He has a little slower traffic. He had to back off, so that's DK Aldrich cut outside. And here's Pearson on pit road. Leonard Wood, the right front tire man, is ready. Clay Wood is standing by, and the Wood brothers, the most famous pit crew in the history of motorsport, wait on car number 21. It's there. This is it. Jackman Delano Wood has the car in the air. It's right side rubber, both sides. And they are storming. This looks like another brilliant pit stop. The right front tire is already on. The left front tire, or rather the right rear tire is on. The jack is out from underneath. He's underway in 14 and 8/10 seconds. The fastest pit stop of the day. 14.8. And back to the attack goes David Pearson. 1/10 of a second picked up by the Wood brothers over the other contenders for the top spot among those four. Yeah, here's the last year front runners on pit road, Marcus. Harry Hyde's crew is ready to go to work. Harry Lee, his son, the Jackman, has that car in the air in the K&K Dodge. The last of the leaders to come in. Let's see what they'll do with it. They have set some records for pit stops, but the consistency mark has always rested with the Wood brothers of Stewart, Virginia. Car number 71 is up. It's down. Tires are changed. This is a good stop, and a good stop here is 16.9. 16.9. Richard Petty is applying the pressure to car number 11. They nearly touched in turn 4, Barney Hall. They almost got together a couple of times. Cale has been running real high and then cutting down to the groove coming out of that turn, and Cale is really pushing that Holly Farm Chevy. They're still door-to-door, Ken Squire. There is going to be a finish here today at Brooklyn, Michigan, the race fans dream about seeing. The superstars, the definitive talent of American motorsport, all combined in one group to decide it right here at the finish line today. On the backstretch at the present time, number 43, Richard Petty, is in command. He is pulling away. Number 11, Cale Yarborough, is chasing him down. And then comes number 16, Bobby Allison, with a fourth-place car. David Pearson, 155 laps are complete. That means 45 laps remaining, actually about 44 and a half now as they're working off another lap coming out of turn number 4. Petty begins to put the hammer down, and he means business here. No Smokey the Bear is looking for him this afternoon. No gumball machines chasing him down. He's just flat on it at turn 1.
Petty is really flexing the muscle of the STB Dodge, that beautiful fluorescent orange and powder blue, glinting in the setting sun back over our shoulder as he really hammers it in, trying to run away from Cale Yarborough and Bobby Allison, and in seemingly successfully doing so. As they come off the second turn and down the back chute, he continues to open up that separation.
Let's go to Barney Hall in 3. Well, Petty has been saving a lot of strength because he had run back in 3rd and 4th position all afternoon, and anytime you break that draft and pull away 8, 10, 12 car lengths on the other guys who've been running up front with you, you've got the horsepower. Here's Petty out of turn number 4. He has put Cale Yarborough in the rearview mirror about 15 car lengths back, but David Pearson is closing. Pearson definitely is moving up. That Purolator Mercury is just percolating here. pulling by automobiles, whipping through traffic, and lap cars down in turn number 1.
It's become less a test of macho than a test of machinery at this point, as everybody's got the hammer down. The leaders are all trying to break away from the draft and, in fact, try to catch Richard Petty. We see Cale Yarborough pulling away from Bobby Allison, and David Pearson masterfully using that traffic to try to gain in 4th spot.
Pearson is the only driver who's making any ground on Richard Petty's STP Dodge. Everybody taking an extremely high line through turns 3 and 4. Everybody's almost getting into the wall except Pearson. His car is definitely handling a little better in the corners, out of the turn. It is still Richard Petty.
With 150 laps, 300 miles by, Ben Pearson leading Petty second. That's all changed around. That battle back in the 7th position as 88 Waltrip falling a lap back. Into 8th goes Bruce Hill. Into 9th David Sisko. 10th is Dean Dalton. And 11th is the Richie Panch car. The field throttling in for 159 laps complete this time. With 159 complete, rapidly approaching the conclusion of this fantastic automobile race. That lead is anything but firm for Richard Petty. He's in lap traffic by Barney Hall and being slowed up.
Richard Petty trapped for a moment in traffic, gets down inside. Buddy Baker drafts off that car. Dave Marcus right behind, and for a moment, Petty's getting a little help in these two cars if he can keep that draft going, but he'd like to just open it up and move away. Down they go into number 1 turn.
As they hit turn 1, Petty runs up high on the racetrack. Marcus cuts to the inside line, and Buddy Baker is right there on Petty's tail. That may be the biggest test yet of Petty's ability, as he just simply horsepowered up behind that 2-car draft of fast cars, came around them, and is now beginning to open up the separation down the backstretch as Buddy Baker tries to tack on his tail.
Pearson, who was gaining ground a moment ago, is now stabilized just about where he was. He's not making any ground on the leader as Richard Petty is really pouring it on the STP Dodge. Petty up in turn number 4, comes out of the groove. He has a healthy separation now on Cale Yarborough.
Here they are, back to complete the 160th lap, only 40 to go, and Petty is in front. Here comes number 11 in second, then comes the number 16 third, the 21 in fourth, and there is a bit of interval, which we should be checking off, Frank Wiley. We get an opportunity here, that interval between first and second, as that will be the major story here. They try to catch Richard Petty. Pit stop is good, but not only is pit stop, but he gets on pit road and off pit road faster than anyone else here, and that really is one of the key secrets, to be able to get in, get the car stopped, and get it through gear, just smoke it coming out, and pick up that speed again.
Well, it definitely is. You know, this Petty, that's one of the reasons why he's a great champion that he is. He is able to move around like that, and of course, you know, Pearson working with the Woods brothers, they're no slouch either, so it's going to come down to the wire, it looks like.
The battle right now, 4 cars for the lead, and here comes 21 Pearson closing on 16 Allison going to the first turn.
As they hit the first turn, both cars run up high on the racetrack, then cut back down to the inside groove where Pearson only has been able to run successfully. Now the Matador goes slithering and skittering back out toward that outside wall, but David Pearson has definitely run down Bobby Allison from behind and is now in a position to challenge for 3rd place as they come out on the back chute. Pearson moves to the inside.
Pearson down on the inside. He's going to move around Bobby Allison and move up a little bit closer to Richard Petty. But Petty, with a hammer down on an STP Dodge, comes out of the corner. He's working traffic extremely well in those corners. Petty out of the turn. Keeps a good separation on Cale Yarborough, but David Pearson is on the attack again and seems to be the only car that's making any progress on the leader.
Pearson, definitely the story right now, is around Allison. He seems to be the fastest car on the speedway, but he has some making up to do. Jade Thomas is back into the pits, number 98. Richie Panch, who continues to have just a sensational day in this borrowed racer. 11th place car is also rejoining the hunt, back to turn 1.
As the leaders move through turn 1, we've been watching Cale Yarborough, and Yarborough is definitely pushing that Holly Farms machine to the absolute limit. He's running it at the very top of the groove, and he's been slithering and skittering and sideways on a couple of occasions down here at 1 and 2, as he was some laps ago in turn 4. Cale Yarborough is definitely using every foot of this racetrack to try to hold on to 2nd place. Ken?
Let's go to Barney Hall with this battle for the 3rd spot. As they come out of turn number 3, Barney, it looks like that Pearson car is going to be challenged again.
I think Pearson's probably just waiting a second to kind of see if the draft is going to help him make up any distance, because he's looking ahead through the corners and down the backstretch. Petty, running all by himself, is moving away from everyone else. The draft does not seem to be helping David Pearson. So he's kind of got an idea of just how strong Richard Petty is here in the final laps. Pearson's still in that draft. They're going to be in heavy traffic down the backstretch as Richard Petty continues to put more distance on all the cars behind behind.
Well, here's the story. It's 4 seconds from first to second as Richard Petty has really put it all together at the closing of this race. David Pearson went 52 laps on the last time around. He can make it easily all the way to the finish from here. So Pearson, the old fox, may have done it again. We'll just have to wait and see. 164 are now complete. Petty is first. That second spot is still Cale Yarborough, and we continue to watch that interval between first and second place as it accordions between these two great runners. Petty looking for his 9th win of the season. If he pulls this one off today, his career victories will stand, well, like no other driver in history, 173. And the day he hits 200, well, the shout heard will be as great as when Henry Herron went for 700. Here he is, out of turn number 4. This 39-year-old veteran of 25 years of competition from Level Cross, North Carolina, in the beautiful Petty blue STP red Dodge automobile in front. Then comes the gay colors of car number 11. Looks like a festival going into turn number 1 on Cale Yarborough's automobile in that second position. And then the third place automobile is now number 21, the maroon, white, gold numeral car of the Purolator people, with Pearson just putting distance all around the Speedway on everyone. He seems to be the quickest. He is making up time, and behind him in his draft is car number 16, Allison. They are closing on the leaders at turn 3.
They're making up a little distance, but Richard Petty is really getting the job done. The car is handling perfect, working, as it always does for Richard Petty toward the latter stages of the race. Richard Petty seems to be the one driver that the car works almost anywhere on the Speedway. And yet, if you have a stopwatch handy, it might be interesting to see just what kind of laps Richard Petty is turning against his qualifying speed here.
It's shaking out now. 167 laps are down. Petty is really showing the authority of the STP Dodge. The magic of that Petty crew is coming through loud and clear as it clears away from the remainder of the field. However, Cale Yarborough now finds himself hitched up in a draft as they come by Barney Hall out of turn 4.
The draft might help him, but it might not, Ken. They're working slower traffic every time around. Cale is linked up with Buddy Baker, but he's trying to break the draft, or he appears to be getting through the corners because he was running about as quick by himself. Nobody seems to be able to catch Richard Petty. I expect Johnny Rutherford, this is what you'd call just flat getting outrun.
Well, it appears that way. You know, Petty does that. He's got everything under control. He doesn't get excited, and he when it chips her down, that's when he comes on strong. And of course, when you're up against Cale Yarborough and some of these other fellas that are out there bumping heads and trying to grab onto different spots, you've got your work cut out for you. But old King Richard just keeps rolling along.
Here he comes, storming once again to complete another lap, and that makes it 170. Number 90, Richard Brooks, who gave it such a good ride earlier in that fight with Darrell Waltrip, is back on pit road. Richard Petty is leading, and his lead continues to extend here now. He is not being caught at the present time, leading by over 4 seconds. Petty and Pearson's crew say they can go all the way. Cale's crew is riding on the fence. Cale Yarborough's crew is now saying they may have to pit. It breaks down this way at 160 laps, 320 miles, with Petty's last lap a 46.6. He continues to work away from the field. 46.6, the last lap on Richard Petty coming by. And we'll just check on how quick he's turning those laps out here. A 46.6 on Richard Petty, and the 43 is a lap at 154.51 miles per hour. Slippery track once again, washed down earlier, totally changed, and that car just seems to maneuver like none other. Petty leading, Cale Yarborough second. Then at 160, it was Bobby Allison third and Pearson fourth. In fifth at 160, a lap down was car number 15, Buddy Baker. In sixth was number 71, Dave Marcus. In the seventh spot was number 88, which is the Darrell Waltrip car, and in eighth was Bruce Hill, number 47. In ninth, 2 laps back, number 05, David Sisko. In 10th, Dean Dalton. In 11th was number 63, Bivens. In 12th was car number 37, which is the car of Bruce Jacoby. In 13th, 3 laps back, was Walter Mallard. In 14th was car number 41, which is Grant Adcox, and 15th was number 24, Cecil Gordon. Richie Patch on these standings has fallen back. The average speed has risen to only 101.893 miles per hour. 101.893. With all the cautions that we've had today, it's amazing that it's been able to pick up to that mark.
One flyer in turn one that time. We watched as David Pearson went around, and he has definitely broken the draft with Bobby Allison, is moving up to try to link up with Cale Yarborough. He apparently has opted for what he hopes will be a faster draft, knowing that Richard Petty is continuing to pull away from him. So it's Pearson now who has that big foot on the wood.
Buddy Baker is on pit road.
So Baker comes in, and that gives car number 71, Dave Marcus, 5th position once again, and moves Darrell Waltrip into 6th. Here's the final stop on the Buddy Baker automobile. It will be for left side tires. This change taking place under green, and the organization around Victory Lane begins to congregate as Petty, seeking his 174th win in a lifetime that has been sparkled by some of the greatest moments in motorsport, is out in front running way high up in turns 3 and 4, Barney.
He's been running extremely close to the wall. In fact, everybody has up here, Ken, except David Pearson. Pearson is the only one of the top 5 cars that seems to prefer that center groove. Everybody else is getting right out against the wall. Somebody said in the garage area this morning that Petty has not had a victory now since Daytona, and they figure he doesn't go much between races, maybe 1 or 2, and he's always back in victory lane again. He's got a good shot at putting this one in victory lane this afternoon back to the tower.
Baker on pit road for 17 and 9/10 seconds before he comes back on the track. 17 and 9/10 seconds for Buddy Baker's last pit stop under green, which comes at lap number 173. He's back underway now. That's a costly stop under green. It's believed that all the other leaders will be able to go home from here. Let's see if anybody else has to come in. There's a question as to whether Cale Yarborough can make it from here. What a great year Richard Petty is having in the win category. It's been a tragic year in some ways for him, but this great driver and this fantastic team continues to just show their mettle whenever they come to a super speedway. Winner this year at Richmond, Virginia, went on to win Bristol, Tennessee, Atlanta, Georgia, North Wilkesboro, North Carolina, won at Martinsville, Virginia this year, then went to Charlotte and was victorious in the World 600, which he'd never won, went back and won at Riverside, California, went to Daytona Beach and won the Firecracker 400, which he had never won. Here he is seeking another victory at Brooklyn, Michigan this afternoon. His lead now nearly 9 seconds, as all of a sudden he's the only thing flying out here, and he is just demolishing the competition at the end. It was building toward one of the great finishes. In the first race he finished 3rd. In that second run, Richard Petty's effort, he's been here for every race, fell far short. He didn't find himself up in the standings. Then he came back in the Yankee 400 1971, ran second to Bobby Allison. He was 4th in 1972 in this race. He was the runner-up a year ago to David Pearson in his champion Sparkplug 400. He's plugging away for another victory, his 174th, as he goes down to turn 3.
Ken, without a caution flag, it looks like it's going to be almost impossible to chase Richard Petty down by either Cale Yarborough or Pearson. However, David Pearson needs to chase Cale Yarborough down to get that second spot, and he's been gaining a little ground the last 3 or 4 laps around on Cale. They're up in the number 3 corner right now. Yarborough out against the wall, and Pearson is just about 15 car lengths back.
Here is Pearson out of turn number 4, and Barney, the handle is still on that automobile. It may be that car number 11, Cale Yarborough's car, has lost a little bit of the handle that it had earlier, but Pearson definitely is still in it.
Cale's been running awful loose in the corners. He's almost having to power slide the automobile a little bit, getting in particularly 3 and 4. The car's getting right up against the wall. He's having to get out of the throttle a little bit earlier. That's one reason that he's lost so much ground on Richard Petty, but Pearson is definitely closing on Cale.
David Pearson is running 12 seconds back in the 3rd position and trying to close with less than 25, with 24, 23 and a half laps now remaining in the event. Petty is in front. Here's Grant Adcox, number 41, very gingerly coming out of pit road. Coming in for a stop, Adcox in the 41 car. The leaders coming by. And really, the close here, it's car number 11 and 21. The battle for the second position. The 21 car of David Pearson is closing on car number 11, Cale Yarborough at the first turn.
As they move through turns 1 and 2, we again see the evidence of Yarborough's possible handling problems. He's doing a lot of skidding around as he moves through the banking, and David Pearson, with a very good handle on the Purolator Mercury, is definitely reeling him in by a couple of car lengths a lap. It's going to be a race with the clock as they go for the finish line.
So the race right now on the Speedway is between car number 11, Cale Yarborough, and car number 21, David Pearson, coming out of turn 4 by Barney Hall. Cale's efforts being hampered for the moment by Dave Marcus. Cale trying to get around. Marcus chopped him off in that third corner, and this allows Pearson to chop it down about 2 more car lengths. Pearson now about 15 car lengths back as they ride for turn 1. Into that first turn, Pearson is still closing ground. Petty still reaching out here with car number 43. After that final pit stop, he just throttled wide open. And in turns 1 and 2, Pearson is closing again.
Pearson puts a great big metal bullseye on the back end of Cale Yarborough's car and pulls the trigger as he goes down out of turn 2 and down the long back chute. Yarborough continues to have problems, cannot get around Dave Marcus as they move to turn 3.
Cale Yarborough chases Dave Marcus in the number 3 corner. Pearson now 12 car lengths back. He picks up about a 3-car length advantage going down the back stretch. And again, Yarborough is right on the bumper. There'll be heavy traffic coming out of turn 4. Pearson will close the gap even more. Here's Pearson working up as Dean Dalton goes to the outside of Elmo Langley with James Hilton on the inside. The leaders are having to hit the brakes in the first turn. There's no place to go.
Yarborough almost caught it right there. He just about caught the back end of Elmo Langley's car. It was an opportunity for him to go by Marcus, and instead it almost turned into an opportunity to do a repeat on that Cuckoo Marlin number into the outside wall. Yarborough gets it all gathered back up again, but in the meantime, Pearson continues to close as they go down the chute.
Pearson works his way around James Hilton's car in the backstretch, and still in the number 3 corner, it is Cale Yarborough riding back in the draft of Dave Marcus. As Pearson continues to close, he is 10 car lengths back as they hit turn number 4. David Pearson is there, knocking on the door in turns 1 and 2 for second place.
Yarborough has made the move and is around Dave Marcus. Marcus now trying to come back to the inside, and that's a key battle because as they get side by side, they slow down, and Pearson continues to eke away at the lead. Marcus is back along, a fender ahead of Cale Yarborough. Now Yarborough comes back as Pearson watches it all from the best seat in the house.
Let's go to Kenny Campbell for just a moment. I talked to the crew chiefs on the 3 leading cars. Junior Johnson said that they're going to try to make it all the way. Dale Inman of the Petty car said it's going to be mighty close, but they're going to try it all the way. And Glenn Wood's comment is, I'd rather not say what we'll do. Back to the tower. So there is a question if the front 3 cars can make it all the way to the finish here in the Champion Sparkplug 400.
You know, probably more people know the name A.J. Foyt in more kinds of racing than any other name in the sport. So naturally, when A.J. talks about cars and engines, people listen. Here's what he has to say about his motor oil.
In race cars and racing today, I think motor oil plays probably a bigger part than just about your fuel or anything else. And the reason I say this because you have extreme temperatures in race cars, which on normal highway driving you don't have. And this is one thing I can say about Valvoline oil. It really don't break down as the oil pressure drop, and it will stand the heat at 260, 270 degrees all day long.
A.J. Foyt runs on Valvoline racing oil, and he's not alone. More professional race drivers at Indy, on major drag strips, on road race courses run on Valvoline racing oil than any other brand. They've proved that Valvoline can take the punishment. Prove that Valvoline can take it in your car, too. There's a Valvoline motor oil for every kind of car, every kind of driving. Valvoline, a product of Ashland Oil, a growing worldwide company.
180 lap one down for 360 miles. Petty first, Cale Yarborough second, David Pearson third, and that battle there, that Cale Yarborough car is getting skitterish around the Speedway. The 4th place car is Allison in the same lap. A lap back in 5th is Dave Marcus. In 6th is Darrell Waltrip. 2 laps back in 7th is car number 15, Buddy Baker, with 8th, number 05, David Sisko. Then running in 9th is number 47, that's Bruce Hill. Running in 10th is Dean Dalton. And there's the battle for second place going into turn 1. At the first turn, cars numbers 11 and 21 are tangling for the second position.
And it's a struggle indeed as Yarborough again skates up high on the racetrack. Pearson ducks to the inside, but Dave Marcus is right there. He continues to be a very big factor in that race for second place. Yarborough tucks on Marcus' bumper, now goes to the outside, wedges right up against the concrete, and Pearson will try to get by with him as they move to turn 3.
Every race driver in this business will say that Cale Yarborough is one of the toughest drivers to get around, whether he's battling for position or whether he's just battling to stay in the race. And right now, David Pearson has his work cut out if he can get around Cale. They're in turn number 4. He is 1 car length back, and Yarborough gets a little fishtailing for a moment.
couldn't find anywhere to go. He's still locked on his bumper at the start-finish line. Cale Yarborough touches the number 71 car, and down the inside goes the 21 car. David Pearson is on his way.
Pearson cuts to the inside as Yarborough indeed sideswiped Dave Marcus, and now they're 3 deep. Yarborough at the top. Pearson is inside him. Marcus is down. There's a lap car there, and it's going to be a shootout. The lap car is Hill, and he is literally blown off as they come off turn 2. Yarborough survived it. Yarborough remains in second place. Pearson is there, but they have both moved around Dave Marcus.
Pearson may get his chance at turns 3 and 4. That's where Cale is running awfully loose and getting extremely high in the corner. They're up in turn 3. Pearson just 1 car length back. Cale goes right out against that guardrail. Pearson just stays back there, locked on his bumper. They'll work traffic again coming out of the corner.
Down across the line, this battle for second place. Cale Yarborough lapping Grant Adcox and Dean Dalton going into the first turn and dragging right along with him David Pearson.
As they hit turn 1, this time it's Dick Brooks who represents the lap car that is there, and it's the same kind of problem. And again, here comes Marcus back on the inside, opting for the lower groove. Yarborough pinned up against the concrete. Pearson has nowhere to go but remain right behind Yarborough, and Marcus has moved up alongside. They try to get around Dick Brooks as they come out on the backstretch. Yarborough is passed, and here comes Pearson.
David Pearson, 1 car length back to Cale Yarborough. He'll have to fix this one carefully to get around. Down to the inside, and this is where Pearson may make his move. He comes to the inside groove. Cale gets high. He may get him coming out of the corner. He's up alongside of Cale Yarborough, but Marcus is alongside David Pearson, 3 deep out of turn 4.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, the word is, with less than 12 laps to go, Richard Petty may have to pit. Here's car number 43 coming across. He's picked himself up about an 8-second lead. That's no lead at all. He has now picked himself up more than 9 seconds, they say, and he's extending that. But back here in second place comes car number 11, Cale Yarborough, and moving up on the inside is number 21, the Pearson car. It'd be interesting to know what those crew chiefs are concerned with down there now, the Wood brothers and the Junior Johnson crew, because that's where it will be decided. Up in the turn, car number 21, David Pearson has made his move. Pearson going to second place. Pearson in car number 21, holding on to second out of turn 2, Dave Despain.
As they come down the back chute, Pearson rides in second spot. He made the move going into 1, simply stuffed it under Yarborough's Chevrolet, drove right on by, and Marcus could not get by, but he continues to be a factor. It's Pearson, and then Yarborough running second and third.
Again, I was just looking down in Richard Petty's pits, and Dale Inman is walking off an awful lot of shoe leather up and down through the pits as Petty continues to tool around in the lead out there. Cale Yarborough sideways, crashes into Dave Marcus.
Cale Yarborough has crashed. He's sliding, spinning. Marcus is going into the outside wall to the main straightaway. Caution is on.
I don't believe either car made contact with anything. Cale is sliding in the mud and down there now and spinning around. Dave Marcus has regained control and is carrying on.
They made contact with each other, I believe, Barney Hall.
They did get together just a little bit. They both broke loose coming out of the corner, and they were just sliding, brushing each other, but no real hard contact, Ken. It was just a slide against each sheet metal down that straightaway back to the tower.
Johnny Rutherford.
Yes, this will move David Pearson up now. If they send out the caution car, we'll move David right up to position on Petty, so it'll be interesting to see what does happen now.
This is going to be it for all the marbles. The caution car will be coming on as we have a yellow light on the speedway, a wild 800-foot slide down the main straightaway. Exercised by car number 11, Cale Yarborough, and the 5th place car, number 71, Marcus.
Ken, it looked as though Marcus was the first car to break loose and kind of tag Cale a little bit is what it looked like coming out of the corner.
Well, both bring Pearson in. This is it. They may pit Pearson right here.
Here's Petty coming in also.
Petty is pitting. David Pearson may be pitting. Richard Petty is on pit road. This is the one they need. Just to top the tank, Petty goes down by the Purolator pits. He comes to a stop. It's going to be decided right at the finish line. Here comes 21. Pearson is coming in. Petty, right side of the car, is up. They're changing tires on Richard Petty's number 43. The race is under caution. Allison has taken the lead. Down, they're going all the way around. 4 tires on Petty's car. 9 laps to go in the race. 4 tires on Pearson's car. Both of the Giants are changing all 4 tires. A standing ovation
for car number 43 as Petty goes back on the track. A standing ovation for the Wood brothers as that crew puts number 21 back out there again. So this is it. Pace car. Black flag is being shown to one automobile, trying to hold this field down. Here comes that pace car. Apparently some cars went by the pace car, and they may be bringing some in on a consultation here. Boy, this one is fast and furious.
Here's Allison off pit road, Ken Squire.
Bobby Allison, number 16, comes in. He's another one of the, now we have 92 complete, 192. That means 8 laps to go. The 2 cars that spun are back on the speedway. The track is clear. We believe we're going to get a start momentarily. Petty is back. Pearson's back. It will be between the all-time winner going for his 6th national championship, Richard Petty, and the 3-time national champion, David Pearson. What a race this has been. And a dramatic conclusion towards the finale as cars number 11, Cale Yarborough, and 71 are in contact, and they slide down across the finish line, backwards, sideways, neither car getting in the wall, but it sure looked that way for a while. So this is going to be yet to decide it all this afternoon. We're getting ready to decide the champion Sparkplug 400, 16, 43, 21, all in there tight together. In that lead lap, they've all gone in, taken on fuel, taken on tires after this wild spin on the main straightaway. Other cars are still coming in. The leaders getting sorted out. A black flag consultation for 64, 15, 88, and 24 has been put on the speedway. Apparently they passed the caution car. That was number 64, and I'm not sure where that took place. We'll check that out on the backstretch. Number 64, Langley. Number 15, Baker. Number 88, Waltrip's car. And number 24 passed the caution car. They are being held. The Dygard car, the Baker car. And now 64 will be brought in as they moved around and were in front of the caution car on the backstretch. Darrell Waltrip talking with John Bruner Sr., holding them down there. Field is up in turn number 2. Describe it to us, Dave Despain.
Well, the field has been cut somewhat by the attrition rate, but certainly the excitement is just as exciting as it was, Ken, back many hours ago when we started this confrontation. And it's a beautiful sight. The sun is setting in the west, and it's glinting off those immaculate race cars as we come down for that final shootout, and they're creeping along the backstretch. Heaven only knows what's going through the minds of those drivers, particularly the 2 who will settle it all, Richard Petty and David Pearson.
Well, they're getting ready to come to the line. Cars numbers 88 and 15 are being held.
And David Pearson.
Well, they're getting ready to come to the line. Cars numbers 88 and 15 are being held. Getting ready to get back into it once again. The Buddy Baker car pulls up, having a word with John Bruner Sr. Meanwhile, the field is up in turn number 4. Here they come out of the 4th turn. This has been a wild one. Everything has happened. Here comes the pace car bringing the field by as they come down out of turn 4. 2 more cars are pitting. 05, David Sisko. 37, the Jacoby car. Laps running out.
I think the indication is being given.
One lap, and they will be racing. Petty comes up. Car number 43. 21 comes up. The Pearson car. Number 16. The Allison car as we get ready to resolve it this afternoon. It'll be 43. Petty in front. Now 88 pulls away. This puts number 21, David Pearson, in the 2nd position. Getting ready for the race to resume. 194 laps complete. Working towards the finale. Almo Langley's car, I believe, is being told to come onto pit road. It's being brought down. Langley's number 64 was one of the 4 cars they had as passing the caution car on the backstretch. 64, 15, 88, and 24. And he's in on the end of pit road. The field gets ready to resume. Safety car coming down.
safety car pulls in, getting ready to put the green flag out. They are underway. Field rolls out of turn number 4. Petty in front. Here comes Pearson after him. With 5 laps to go and they cross the stripe. This will decide it all. They're to the line. Here goes 21 up on the outside, and the battle is on in turn 1.
They're going to roll all the dice as they hit turn 1. Richard Petty moves up high. David Pearson tucks in right behind him, and that big separation that we saw earlier is all history. We're going to decide it in 5 laps. The separation now is 1/2 car length as Richard Petty and David Pearson, the 2 biggest winners of all time, come off the second turn and head down the backstretch.
Richard Petty whistles down the back straightaway, but here comes Pearson putting the charge on. Pearson goes to the inside. They hit turn number 3, backs off momentarily, and Petty keeps just 1 car length separation on Pearson. Back in 3rd spot is Bobby Allison. He is also in the same lap. He is 6 car lengths back. Out of the turn, the STP Dodge. 1 car length ahead of David Pearson.
Here comes Pearson back into the main straightaway. Pearson ready to go. At the finish, it will be between these 2 once again. Allison, however, could be a factor. There goes Pearson to the bottom of the racetrack.
Pearson dives down low into turn 1, and they are side by side. They've actually got a racing lane between them as Pearson goes all the way to the bottom. Petty goes all the way to the top, and they are almost together as they come off the second turn. Pearson makes the pass. Petty wedges the spoiler right up under Pearson's rear deck angrily, as if to say, I shouldn't have let you do that, and they go drafting down the chute.
You could squeeze an orange between the bumpers of those 2 cars down the backstretch that time. Pearson hits turn number 3. Petty 1 car length back, just the reverse of that last position around. In the corner, they have opened up a 12-car separation on 3rd place runner Bobby Allison as David Pearson and Richard Petty feel each other out of the turn. Here's Petty down to the inside.
Petty and Pearson are setting up for a classic finish again here at Michigan. Pearson leading by just about 5 feet going into the turn. They have 3 laps to go.
They hit that 18-degree banking. Cale Yarborough moves up on the rear deck of Bobby Allison. That's the battle for 3rd and 4th, and it's every bit as vicious right now as the lead draft, which finds David Pearson just 1 car length ahead of Richard Petty as that burgundy and white Hero later Mercury leads the STP Dodge down the chute.
The fates of racing totally unreal. About 10 laps ago, it looked like Richard Petty had a surefire victory. A caution flag came out, and now Petty finds himself chasing David Pearson up in the banking in turn number 4. He is still 1 car length back. Will he make his move this time? Out of the turn. Pearson. Here's Petty down to the inside. He may get him this time.
As they come back to the stripe, they are side by side. It is Richard Petty on the inside. On the outside is the car number 21. They're wheel to wheel with 2 to go.
Pearson has been using the high line every time through this turn, as has Petty. This time Petty is forced low and he can't handle it. He has to go back to the outside of the racetrack, and Pearson opens up a car length separation. Petty tried the inside line and it did not work, and that could be a factor a lap from now. They come off the second turn just a dig, and David Pearson leads the way.
They could well need a camera to get the finish of this one. Down the backstretch, and in turn number 3, Richard Petty still 1 car length back. Pearson sits in the center of the groove. Petty locked in on that draft. He cannot afford to make a mistake, neither driver. They have now moved back about 15 car lengths, and Cale Yarborough has moved back up into 3rd position. Allison is back and forth. The leader's out of the corner. Here comes Petty down on the inside.
1 lap to go. The white flag is out. David Pearson is in front. Richard Petty is in second. This is it for the decision in this $100,000 battle.
Both cars go high to the outside wall. Pearson begins to open it up a little bit. There's a car length between them as Petty moves up very, very high on the racing lane. Now cuts back, wants to go to the inside. Pearson cutting up, squaring off the second turn. Comes off. Richard Petty moves right up on his rear deck. He will not make the move as they go down the back stretch.
They'll have no help coming down the back stretch or in the front stretch. There's no slow traffic in front. Here's Pearson down to the number 3 corner. Petty 1 car length back. Pearson eases out against the wall in turn 3, and he gets a little bit high. Down to the inside comes Richard Petty. David got a little bit high in the corner. They're door-to-door out of the 4th turn and moving to you, Ken Squire.
Here they come to decide it all. Petty is on the inside. He pulls up. Pearson moves back. Petty has won, and he waves as he comes across the line. He wins by 5 feet. Richard Petty has won the champion Sparkplug 400 1975 NASCAR Championship race. It's over. It's history, and the winner is Richard Petty. He drove the whole winning way in that red and blue STP special with STP oil treatment protecting the engine. Yes, Richard Petty and 32 of the other great drivers in this race event used STP oil treatment. And no wonder. STP oil treatment protecting vital engine parts against damaging friction and wear mile after tortuous mile.
Every time you change oil, the next time you need oil, add a can of STP oil treatment for reduced oil consumption and protection against damaging friction and wear. Follow the lead of Richard Petty and 32 other NASCAR championship drivers in this race and get STP oil treatment for your automobile. The STP Dodge has won it. Richard Petty has defeated David Pearson right at the finish line. It's victorious Richard Petty with his 173rd victory for this great champion. Richard Petty coming down, a standing ovation from this great crowd at Michigan as Petty begins to head into victory lane. We'll be going down there momentarily. Here's Petty coming up, a magnificent performance by perhaps the greatest stock car driver in the history of the sport. And now let's go down for the celebration in victory lane with Ken Campbell.
Richard Petty is pulling the beautiful number 43 up on the platform here, and he'll be out in just a moment for his 173rd career victory. And what a close one it was. We were standing where we could see a direct line to the starting line, and it was less than 5 feet. He's coming out of the car now, and we'll talk to Richard Petty and have him for our listeners in just a moment.
Richard, we got radio.
Richard?
Bob, here.
Richard taking a drink of cola here after a hot afternoon.
Get another one?
Richard, congratulations on one of the closest I've ever seen. Did you think it would come out that way?
Well, I was trucking along there about 10 laps to go, and I said, man, we got this made. All we got to do is finish the race. Then they had a caution. I said, oh, me, you know, and me and David running pretty good. I think I could probably outrun him today. And anyhow, that last lap, he made a slip up there. I pushed him in the corner as hard as I could go, and he went in as hard as he could, and he made a little bit of a slide, and when he did, I was able to duck down and beat him to the light flat.
Do you think that was the real deciding factor on probably 5 feet you beat him by here?
Well, yeah, if he hadn't made the slide, it would have been real tough, you know what I mean? But he did make the slide, and we did win, and we would have won anyway if they hadn't had that last caution.
Congratulations to you, Richard Petty, and when he said it would have been close if David hadn't slid, and it was only 5 feet as it was, what would have happened? And back to you in the tower.
Richard Petty waving to the crowd now. The all-time champion of American stock car racing. 25 lead changes among 13 drivers today. Richard Petty is victorious. Second is David Pearson. Third is Cale Yarborough with a great comeback in number 11. And finishing fourth is car number 16, Bobby Allison. In fifth was car number 71. Across the line, the Dave Marcus automobile. Johnny Rutherford, our sincere thanks for spending the day. Hope you had a little fun.
Thank you. It was indeed a great deal of fun, especially watching that finish. This NASCAR Winston Cup Grand National Racing leaves nothing to be desired. Believe me, it's very thrilling and exciting, very close competition, and when you have a finish like this, if the fans aren't satisfied, then nothing will satisfy them.
Okay. The average speed, 107 miles per hour, took 3 hours, 43 minutes, 5 seconds, 2-hour, 12-minute rain delay. Richard Petty has won. The champion, Sparkplug 400, Ken Squire, good afternoon.
From Michigan International Speedway in Brooklyn, Michigan, this was the broadcast of the champion Sparkplug 400 NASCAR Winston Cup Grand National Stock Car Race. Host for today's broadcast was Ken Squire. Turn commentators Barney Hall and Dave Despain. Pit reporter Ken Campbell. Statisticians Bob Latford and Walt Flothauer. Executive assistant Melinda Renew. Technical director Harry Howard. General manager Jim Sullivan. This broadcast was produced by Rick Wolf. All personnel participating in this broadcast are employed or paid by Motor Racing Network. Stay tuned to most of these same stations for the broadcast of the Old Dominion 500 from Martinsville, Virginia, Sunday, September 28th. This broadcast of the champion Sparkplug 400 from Michigan International Speedway was a presentation of Motor Racing Network, a division of the International Speedway Corporation. This is Rick Wolf speaking.